And the Combine rolls onwards ever so slowly or quickly, depending if you're a player or not, or if you're just watching. It's always a good time. But of course, we are here with another 10 players ready to show their stuff and try and prove themselves to go ahead and get into the in-person matches over in LA. My name is Ordle. With me is Alk Battery. We will be your casters for the upcoming 3 games, covering, a pretty consistent group of champions that the players get to choose from. Alk, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm sorry to everybody. I couldn't make it yesterday. I got owned by a power outage, so you can thank the windstorm that apparently also affected Aegis. Real quick, let's just get straight into the draft. We have our stipulations, which you kind of saw there while we were on the desk. You kind of saw all those champions are the only champions that are available, but in every single game, each of these teams get to have one special pick going forward on either side. So if they want to go deeper into their kind of champion picks, their own individual pockets, then we get something special. But as of right now, kind of going immediately into it, first things first, we have our first bans. The only bans that are going to be available in this game, Ashe and Skarner. Skarner being a really, really big priority, and I'm interested to see how these two teams kind of battle with this champion, as it is not available in the current jungle pool for this week.
Yep, you got to go ahead and just say we don't want to let that one go on that side. I think actually we have a little bit of a shift here. Obviously, we get some of those little fun bands out of the way. Like, I enjoy this. Listen, only one, but you got to have fun with the other ones just to get a little
Yeah,
bit
they
of
were like, okay,
silliness.
look,
But
let's just get rid of it. I don't want to have to get like this. We want to get to the actual champion picks quicker.
oh yeah,
Which,
oh yeah,
fair
oh yeah.
play. They want to get right into game, and obviously, when you have 3 games you have to play, you might as well just kind of get through it. This is not any kind of fearless. We're just going to be seeing them really execute. Already here for Quacker, for this blue team, we do have Corki, Ivern, and Jax. I do love this as a kind of pairing. Corki, very, very strong. I was wondering, with the changes, how our mid laners here in the Combine were feeling about it, and kind of listening in on a lot of the teams. A lot of people were very excited about this champion. So sorry for everybody who was maybe looking forward to some Corki and Azir later on, but we're having some fun already. And double marksman with a Kaisa. You have a strong blind in the top lane with Jax. I think this is perfectly fine.
Yeah, and of course, with the players actually piloting it, you have to take a look and really get into. I mean, we got Quacker, we got Cryo, we got Aljun, we got Shogo and Enthralled on one side, and then we got Hoarder, Ollie, as well as 5 Mini, Levitate, and Dum Dum piloting the rest, and that's going to be a nice little change up there. We will make sure to get all the champions on board and make sure we know what's going on. But Alk, I mean, this is a draft that I think we've seen pretty often, but the Ivern is always, I think, a nice little touch at the end of the day.
Love Ivern. Ivern is so fun. I don't know why people. I get why that, like, some of the junglers who may be liking their very aggressive junglers might not necessarily agree, but I love this champion, and he's been super fun to kind of watch, see different pros pilot. As we got our last pick here, which is going to be the Gragas, which is a champion that is not currently available in the pool, and that seems like that is going to be Hoarder's answer. It is a great matchup individually into Jax, and versus, I think, a team that obviously you want to try to play a little bit at range. Kaisa can go for her AP build, and as the soul magic damage, I think that the Gragas does add a little bit of spice to this team, including the ability to actually go forward and enable champions like the Orianna and even the Renata. But I'm a little worried here, as Ivern just, I think, provides so much shielding, so much durability for his team, and Leona with the ability to just call for a fight immediately with her ultimate against a team that, with Orianna, you're probably gonna have to be worried about whether or not you're having your flash, as that's gonna be an important cooldown coming into team fights.
Yeah, and that's also a little bit of a fun aspect. We were just talking about the fact that you have to keep track of all these things, and the players themselves are hoping to step up and be able to show that they understand the mechanics, they understand the abilities of the champions, but also be able to coordinate with the team. I want to go back to what you were just talking about, the fact that the Ivern and the Leona love to roam around together, both provide either CC or the ability to shield out. Kryra and Enthralled are hoping to head that up, and you were talking to me a little bit, watching players like Kryra be able to step up inside of this Combine. It's something that they're hoping to show within their teams and to the coaches and the analysts out there.
Yeah, when we look at the Saito Path2Pro Combine, we already announced the first 5 players that are going to be joining them in LA for in-person tryouts, and I feel very strongly that Kryra, not only with his body of work this entire year, but within this Combine, has shown that he deserves that spot in the jungle. I think it is up for the other junglers in the pool currently to try to prove otherwise, but Kryra, both in-game with his leadership and also his ability to kind of, I think, talk to his team so far, being able to listen to him, has been really, really great. And just the play individually on the Rift has also, I think, shown a lot of promise. So I'm looking forward to what Cryer can kind of prove. And Ollie is a player who is a lot newer to the scene. I think also has given some fun looks. I think he's also been one of the fun players in the jungle alongside a player like Bio, but I think it definitely has a mountain to climb if, his goal is to make it into LA.
And unfortunately, you're kind of put on this Sejuani, which, it's a very great engage. It's a very great, fire starter is what I like to say. You can make stuff happen. Once you hit level 6, it's a lot about coordinating with the rest of the team, making sure you make use of Hoarder and 5mini. And 5mini, for their own, still trying to prove their worth as well, going up against one of those in the scene that has been around for some time, Ao Jun, and playing up against the Corki Oriana matchup, which we've seen years before as well.
Yeah, 5mini is a player that has, I think really grown as the week's gone on. At the beginning of the Combine, he's obviously a much fresher face, so didn't really get to play too many games beforehand, and also had some, I think, weaker laning phases when we were talking about him. I think there was a game on Akali where he performed really, really well, but unfortunately team fights really just didn't kind of click together for this guy. And so far throughout the Combine, I think he's really, really grown into a much better mid laner than he was in week 1. So I'm excited, especially for a player that is so new and promising. We are going into a new year, especially. So
Yep.
I would like to keep my eyes on 5mini as his development grows, not only inside this Combine, but later on into the future.
And that's really important. That's why we're actually having this level of drafting. You have a very certain number of champions that you can choose from, and this is where you get to show your accelerated play or try to improve yourself. To those out there, that even leads into the bottom lane where we do see the Kai'Sa versus this Kalista matchup. I mean, Kalista is very fun, Levitate and Dum Dum, hoping to show off some of those extra pieces to the combat. But honestly, against the Kai'Sa and the Leona, Shogo and Enthralled, hoping to really prove their worth once again. It feels like Team 1 is the squad that wants to kind of prove themselves over the course of their history throughout amateur.
Yeah, there's been a lot of these players, like you were just saying, on Team 1 that have been playing for a pretty long time in just in general. So I'm glad to see that we're kind of getting this mix of like veterans from different teams playing against some of the newer faces here in Tier 3 that are trying to make their name either through solo queue or otherwise. Let's kind of touch back a little bit towards the game as we're getting closer to the start of the actual game itself.
Of course.
When we look at this red side composition, you have a bunch of lane matchups that should be really good for this team. You obviously have Kalista, Renata, which we're expecting them to be playing very aggressively. We want them to be able to take control of the bottom side, secure either those early grubs for their team if they can, or look for just dragon stacking as much as possible, because as this game goes later, you are really looking down the barrel of an Ivern with double marksman. You have Jax on the side lane. That's going to be such a tough ask for this team. I guess the one saving grace is it's a bit difficult for this blue side to actually start a fight. You're looking for Jax to be coming in on a flank. You're going to be looking for Leona to potentially land onto any one of these members. I think it is potentially going to be very difficult for them if they don't have a frontline tank, and that might be predicated on Quacker having potentially a weaker laning phase thanks to this counter matchup.
And I mean, you even talk about the fact that, we're mentioning these engage options are very limited. Team 2 also knows this as well. And you were mentioning the Renata Glass is one of the 5 champions here on the day that they can choose from. It is known as the engage denier. You can go ahead, throw out the hostile takeover, and it pretty much wrecks everything out there. The fact that there is only that one engage tool, it makes it very linear. I think Team 2 is going to sit there and go like, we know what you're going to throw at us. It's not exactly a hidden gem out there.
Yeah, and what I love about this tier, this red side draft is if you come into a fight, you obviously still have the ability to re-engage. There's a lot of compositions that might fall prey to, hey, we have to be able to turn off an objective, or we have to be first to the play. And that's where I really think that blue side can really find that advantage. You have the Ivern for setup. You can set up so many brushes, deny vision. But for this red side composition, the Sejuani can fly in, start that engage like we were talking about. Grogix can as well. And when you have an Oriana, I think it is much easier to execute. That bar of execution is not particularly high, and you still have a ton of damage. Just your team is a bit shorter range thanks to having something like a Kalista. And this Renata as well is going to have a lot of value thanks to some of the lower mobility options coming in from this blue side draft.
Yeah, and I mean, for the Renata, you're also just getting tossed into the fight. We got to have fun with that one. Kalista's like, hey, listen, you're too short range. No, you're not. You're fine. Just get into the mix. Hopefully you don't die, and, maybe you'll come out on the other side. Honestly, though, I love the fact that we are getting a little bit of a throwback to Worlds. We got the Gragas versus the Jax on the top side, and I want to dive into that a little bit more. Because if you pick a World style, and obviously, I feel like this is something that we wanted to see in this Combine. How do you take some of these meta style, or not exactly meta, but one of these matchups that it has been well seen? Hoarder and Quacker both still trying to put themselves on that pedestal of we want to go to the in-person as well. Do you think Quacker is going to have that tough a time, or do you think there are some routes that Ajax can have to deny this Gragas or take over the top lane?
Sure. I mean, if Quacker's creative enough, you could try to go for a level 1, sitting with Counter Strike. Jax can have really strong control of the wave very early on into the matchup, so that could be something that they're looking for. If we see the junglers start to get involved in top lane, maybe that's something. I think when we talk about specific matchups like this and stuff that we've maybe have already seen at the pro level, we kind of harken back to our week 1 and week 2 drafts where we had the world simulations where we were just going, hey, first 2 games of the pod, you're going to be playing both sides of a world's draft and kind of seeing that. The person that I think that was actually most impressive in those situations was either Hoarder or someone like Zamudo, who, when he was playing the Jax versus Gnar matchup, I got to see him win both sides of that matchup very interestingly, even with lane swaps, which was awesome to watch. And that's where I think some of that individual personal flair, and Hoarder has been, I think, the call up for top lane when we talk about tier 3. He has been the player that has been super successful. Obviously hasn't, I think, been able to add too many trophies to the trophy case, but his individual play has been really, really impressive to me in the last year and a half, and I really want to see if this guy can kind of push some of our other NACL talent. Like we're saying, we have Quacker on the other side, who, at the beginning of the season, I think may have had some doubts, but not only through their run throughout this year, but also his Combine play individually, he is really shown to be a top-level top laner here in the Combine.
Of course, some veterans, some up and coming, all the talent in the world, hopefully having a spot there. More players joining the 5 that have already been selected. We are going to go to a short break. Game number 1 of 3 here on the night will be ready to go very shortly. We want to make sure we get the best quality for all these players to showcase their skills. So please do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. NA hopefuls back onto the Rift once again here. They've played quite a few weeks in this Combine, and they're hoping to do a little bit more. Of course, that also means that players may be taking it a little bit safer. I don't think either side has a really big invade comp, so, you know, just play it smart.
Okay, with that, look, if you've got Calista Renata, just walk in. What are they going to do? How are they going to hit you, bro? They've got a Leona. She's going to press E. I'd be a little bit afraid, I'm not going to lie. Leona level 1's a bit spooky, I won't lie. But a typical 5-point coming in for our two teams here, and interested to see that there's not going to be any kind of lane swaps. I thought maybe we've been seeing some of the teams in particular kind of opt for them, despite them not necessarily being forced to. And that, I think, has been one of the fun parts of this Combine, which is the players individually just kind of bringing up strategies and trying to execute on them without any prompting from some of the coaches that are volunteering.
And not only that, figuring out in real time, you know, those differences of how these compositions, I mean, these compositions have been played throughout the course of League and even in this Combine itself, so you have to find new ways to innovate on old characters is the best way I can put it. So hopefully we get to see some of that come out here. Initial trades, obviously, given as we get a late invade here, Ollie actually not enjoying this factor, started out solo on this red buff, and all of a sudden that's sniped away.
Oh, and if he loses this entire topside matchup, we can see the lane swap did end up coming through. Shogo and Enthralled not only kind of taking control through the mid lane, they move in through Vision, and by cutting up the map, now it's a vertical map. Hoarder's going to be in a pretty tough spot here, and now it's going to be up to this red side team. How much can Levitate and Dum Dum actually get through this lane swap? If they can get a couple of those turret plates, it's great. Jax is going to eventually still make enough gold to kind of make those breakpoints happen, but this, I think, really empowers someone like Kryra, getting him all this golden experience. And look at where Ollie is. So he's doing his blue buff. He's going to go towards his Gromp and potentially finish his Wolves. Oh my god. Aljun, wait a minute. I did not think he would be going down there already.
Oh man, yeah, Aljun losing a little bit of control, but at the same time, I mean, 5 Mini losing HP as well, so the mid lane getting very, very close to death, which is why we're seeing Kryra actually join in on this mid lane. Go ahead and give a little bit of a check. Ward or information does decide to go down as, you know, you go ahead and just throw a little visit in there.
There we go. Okay. I was wondering what we were going to get. We can kind of see on the mini-map right now that Leona is on her way towards the bottom lane, which seems like they're just going to be trying to play for Shogo to get enough gold and experience by himself. There are a couple of spectator delays, so sorry for everybody at home if, you know, you're saying, hey, is my stream broken? No, it's spectator delay being very fun. So we've had this issue before where spectator delay, or spectator client anyway, sorry, is a little buggy. I don't know, Orbital, if you want to kind of cut it immediately to a break, but I know that this issue does sometimes resolve itself within, you know, the first minute and a half or two. So I don't know if I want to really, it's up to you.
Listen, we've all worked with Riot Client enough that I think cutting it to a little bit of a break might be the best option. We are going to go to a very short break, try and hopefully get this stream underway and hopefully get the game back for us, because we do want to showcase these players. We do want to give them a little bit of stage, but unfortunately, we got to see it to believe it. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Solutions have been found as we're right into a team fight right now. A huge fight breaking out in the mid lane. We actually saw the tail as a double kill for 5 Mini living on just 30 HP.
Wow, okay, so, again, the spectator client unfortunately did die on us. There's a bit of a bug. It's been happening for the past couple weeks, so not honestly too surprised, but unfortunate. We did miss out on a lot of the early game here, 6 minutes in already, and our kills 5-5. Big thing already kind of coming out, and we're kind of looking at the scoreboards immediately. Shogo, 3-1-0. We kind of saw that that lane swap was happening. They're going to continue to go for this lane swap. And now with where the positions of our two kind of lanes are right now, it does seem like this red team is going to be focusing, instead of that dragon, they want to avoid wherever Shogo is and make sure that they're grabbing themselves an objective. An early set of scuttle, or the grubs here for them. Perfectly fine. I don't know if this is necessarily going to be a team that is going to be able to hit turrets all that reliably, however. So this feels more as a denial from the blue team than anything else.
Oh, 100%. You don't want to give a Jax like 6 grubs. However, Quacker says, I want 3 lives. Given the opportunity, Counter-Strike goes out, gets a good stun on 2. A root behind as Enthrall tries to throw in the Zenith Blade, but unfortunately, you don't get much more. Quacker watches as the blade goes forward. A stun goes out, and Dum Dum is now dead. They will not survive that fight as Quacker picks one up for themselves.
I love that we kind of saw that contest from our blue team as saying, hey, they got the objective, but we already kind of committed Quacker up here. He had the great flank, and not too much spent in terms of summoner spells there coming in from our blue side team. Just the fact that they're able to grab more kills after that play in mid as well has got to be feeling a little bit better. But as is right now, taking stock of where we are in the game, despite Kryra really being able to kind of take control of the top side of the jungle, don't see too much of an individual lead for our Ivern. And for Sejuani, you're perfectly fine with that. This guy is going to spike a lot harder than you. He's going to have items that are a lot cheaper typically than our tanks, although I have been seeing a lot of our Sejuanis start to pick up a Zeke's Convergence first item, so maybe... Oh.
That's such a good catch. Enthralled, making sure the Zenith Blade lands, and it's easy pickup there.
Wow, okay. Knowing that he doesn't have flash, that's just what we were talking about though, right? When we saw this Leona, that as soon as enemy mid has no flash, even without the ultimate, that is always something you have to be worried about. And instead, it looks like they want to try to make this Ivern a hoarder.
Oh, Shogo actually tanking it up and said, yo, I got the extra Ivern shield. This is great. And we're seeing this blue team really start to ramp forward because of the extra shielding and the rotations that they have.
Yeah, and now what I want to see from this red side team is being able to cut Quacker off from this wave and focus on getting turret damage, because as is right now, Kaisa is really far ahead of the curve. He's going to be finishing his first item not only with that kill, but now with the turret plates underneath him as well. So if they can get maybe another plate after this, I think this is going to be perfectly fine. However, getting 2 plates split between 3 people, not an insane amount of an advantage. So really a kind of focus more on getting more structure damage before that 14-minute mark, as this team needs to be able to ramp up the pace and make sure that they're keeping track with the double marksman comp.
Ooh, not only do you have to split 2 plates, you also lose out on the cannon. Ooh, Levitate, not enjoying that one. But of course, I do agree. Getting that information down, making sure that you are in the right spot. You can see the recalls coming in from Levitate and Dum Dum, but this is Kryra. Kryra is playing with fire because the fire is great. Again, no flash, but the tether doesn't land, meaning 5 Mini is allowed to walk free.
Okay, they just wanted to get priority in mid so that they can play for this dragon. Kalista not making her way over here. Ollie as well trying to finish off his camps on the top side of the map. So this dragon's going to be going over to our blue side team, which again, I think really does favor this composition. We're talking about later on, Kalista, her range is going to be something that's going to be exploited versus a Kaisa and a Corki. And then Ivern just makes him so resilient that the Rend I don't think is going to be very meaningful unless the fight goes for an extended period of time now. Quacker, interestingly enough, going for the Merc Treads boots, which typically you want to try to take that into a laning phase when you are going up against something like the Gragas, but when you do expect, and we kind of seen it throughout the game, that you're going to be playing mostly into this lane swap, I would have expected to see a plated steel caps. This is a game where you really are focusing on trying not to die, especially in a lane swap situation. Getting as much golden experience as you're allowed to by the enemy bot lane is really important. Oh my god, Aljun!
Okay. Listen, Aljun made it look so good and then had like the slight stumble at the end, but still got the kill. That's very important right now because Aljun is carrying this Corki on forward and saying, I'm going to take over even further. Shogo and Enthrall, though, might walk into a little bit of a dire strait. Honestly, they sniff it out, though, but they're still stepping up. As soon as they cross that threshold of the 50% in the lane, I think Levitate and Ollie are going to be coming around, but that is a great spot out by Kryra. Very nice heads up to go ahead and force red team back.
Yeah, I was gonna say, with Kryra coming up, maybe that 3v3 becomes a little less desirable, but it's 6 grubs here, and you have the Renata ult versus Enthralled with no ultimate on the Leona. I think you need to spike on this play right now. They've already pulled Hoarder away. Quacker's not gonna be able to TP.
Such a good catch. Hoarder, though, taking a lot of damage, but Enthralled is stunned up and killed by Mini. Says thank you very much. Glacial Prison catching one. But now Shogo's the one to dive in. They're going to try to turn around. Hostile takeover into the shockwave. Lands Aljun in a little bit of trouble. Quacker is trying to run interference. Counter-strike is going to stun up one. So 5 Mini loses their life. And electricity zaps them all because of the early kills. The static shift is online, and Shogo is allowed to pick up their 6th. Are you kidding me right now? Blue team running red team right out of the jungle.
Oh, are they going to continue to go for this? I was a little afraid that they were going to keep going, but you saw that static shiv reset immediately gives him the 2nd kill onto 5 Mini. And it's going to be plates as well, so they're going to get 3 grubs on top of this, as well as getting a lot of summoner spells. The big one for me, 5 Mini no longer having his flash, as well as Callista, makes this so much more difficult come 2.5 minutes time. But I think that what they're going to utilize now is just take their numbers advantage, continue to hit on these turrets, and then say, hey, 3rd dragon, 4th dragon, we're going to come at you, and we're going to hope that you can withstand our first punch.
I also love the fact that blue team is stepping up so far. We mentioned the team composition doesn't have a lot of CC. They don't have a lot of ways to engage. So what do? You just try and overwhelm. You just try and brute force through this early game. They've done so. 11-6 right now, about 3K in the lead. Enthralled, even being able to withstand and step up to Hoarder, or at least, you know, not get fully caught out when you're trying to recall. Hoarder's like, you're not going to be allowed. Is the barrel? Nah, the barrel doesn't land right now. Bot side, though, Levitate and Dum Dum using that time that Shogo and Enthralled were on the top side to take first tower.
Yeah, if that reset had came in, I mean, Enthralled should have already been here in this position. He would have been able to help Jax sit up on the wave, collect the minions, but because of that cancel, or, you know, because Hoarder's being so annoying and kind of messing up his tempo, he's saying, okay, look, I'm just going to force you, and now you're not going to be able to protect your top lane, which means they do get that tier 1 in the bottom lane. It does allow for Levitate and Dum Dum to get a little bit more gold, but, I mean, I'm just looking at items right now. It doesn't get much better. I wonder if Aljun's really going to be able to finish his Muramana in time. In a minute and a half time, I think is too hasty for him, so maybe they don't really want to spike. But if I'm playing as Kai'Sa right now, I'm saying, guys, I'm super strong, and I'm very close to my 2nd item. It's potential here that with this Herald spawning, if this red side team isn't able to kind of either grab the dragon or the Herald to push the tempo of the game, they're going to be in a really bad spot come 7-8 minutes from now, where you're looking at this Kai'Sa who is very far ahead, 1,300 gold over their individual lane opponent, and now empowered with an Ivern that is just going to give them so many shields, already has the redemption as well. You have Trinity Force done here for Aljun. This is a tough spot to play for this red side team.
And blue team knows it. Even throwing out Daisy, Kryra is like, I know what to do with this Ivern. I know how to be annoying. Also functions as a secondary ward. Ollie shows up, but the last play does go down. Shogo's like, we got this. And Enthralled now heading up that side lane help, shielding out from the rest of the members. And in the meantime, Aljun sitting there with a decent chunk of damage after getting that mid lane tower, wants to push out one more wave. Herald has now spawned as we see the rotate red team being the first on the scene, though, and it looks like they're going to collect their just rewards.
They need to win this fight or like get a lot more out of this Herald, because what's now happened is Aljun collecting this mid wave. He's getting closer to level 11, and all this time Quacker has been sitting in that bottom lane turret and finally picks up the turret as well. So they lost mid priority. They didn't get much on top side either. So they really need to be able to take this Herald and get so much from it, as they've invested a lot of their map for it. And now you even see this blue side team starting to slink around, get into vision, get into pockets, and maybe make this play happen.
I mean, they're doing it, but it's a 4v5 situation, so Enthralled having to back away. The Soul Flare is already used. In goes the cast, but it bumps everyone away, so Enthralled is going to try and turn it around, gets another route. In comes the redemption, but it's not going to keep him alive, and Quacker saying, okay, we can't really fight this one. Now we're in a true 4v5 situation. Team 1, blue team saying, okay, we got to watch this dragon. Red team, though, saying we want it just as much. We want to take this mountain. We want to stop the dragon stacking. This duel is getting a little bit bouncy. Up go the bushes. This is Kryra trying to play inside of the field of vision. Hoarder stepping up, trying to provide a little bit of a meat shield. That's looking a little bit dangerous. Shogo also dancing in and out with the Catherine Rain. In go the spears though. In goes the smite, and now the hostile takeover as well. Doesn't tag anyone though, and in goes this pull back. But the main objective has been taken, which means red team is going to try and get out and throw the flashing forward. Gets 5 mini, and 5 mini is down. No summoner cells, like you mentioned earlier. You said that summoner cells were down. It did come in a crucial moment.
And there we go. They sacrificed so much for that play. Obviously, without Enthralled there, this blue side team does struggle a little bit with being able to find and engage. They also didn't have the Daisy. Quacker not really coming in on an engage or kind of a flank either. Ollie's just straight up dead here. I mean, Shogo just takes him down, right? Oh!
Very close, and thankfully there was a Renata Glass with a little bit of a Shield the Guardian being able to proc, so you're safe for the time being.
But look at what they're getting now for this map play. I mean, with that, they push them out of the top side of the map. Aljun gets to get so much damage, takes his turret down to half HP, and they're still playing on the mid wave as well. So playing on 2 waves for this blue side team is turning into a massive amount of damage to the structures. And for red side, we're not really seeing too much of that advantage. Again, they did go for the lane swap, and they still ended up behind in that instance. So now we're seeing it. Muramana completed here for Aljun and completely stacked. Shogo's going to finish his recall, get a Rage Blade. I think that this is just going to get tougher and tougher from this spot, and they're not even matching item parity. Typically, it's like, okay, if I have 2 items and you have 2 items, then maybe it's playable, but now you're looking at 2 items on Marksman. You're having Kryra, who's going to be finishing his 2nd item before this next dragon, and that's where we talked about it. 3rd dragon onward is going to be so difficult if this red side team does not have an overwhelming advantage or even have a majority of the structures. They have a single turret from that bot lane, and that's it. They're trying to make this play now with the Herald, trying to maybe set up their map in a few minutes time to be able to break open and find this. We have teleports coming in. We're getting that team fight now.
Yeah, this team fight is also breaking out in a little bit of awkward spot. It's Quacker watches as Soulflare comes down on 2. It's an eating Counter-Strike into the Grandmaster Challenge. Counter-Strike on 3, though. Sections off. Hostile Takeover does only 1 death, but the damage is still rolling through. Ollie, only with a little bit of a shield, isn't going to be able to output anything else, and that means 5 mini might be on the chopping block. A little bit of slow that turns it around. Big kill onto Hoarder as well. No flash necessary, no flash able to be pulled off, as that's a triple for Shogo, running them all down.
Expected from the AD carry here in the Combine. Shogo, who hasn't had all that many games compared to, I think, some of his contemporaries here, someone like Mobility, who played a lot in the first half of the week, but he has been doing really, really well despite some of his games. I think the thing that I love about Shogo here in the Combine has been not only his ability to play so many different champions, but his laning prowess has been up to snuff for what we expect from a player of his caliber. And I mean, he's kind of showing up so big in these team fights, getting a lot done in the fight. Always, I think, playing with a lot of respect to his own positioning, but also just keeping his summoner spells, something that a lot of AD carries, obviously, you might have to kind of focus that as a potential key skill, but he is playing with a lot of respect, but also knowing that, hey, as long as I have my flash, as long as I have my barrier, I'm kind of untouchable in a lot of these team fights. And with a single fight, now has 3 items, finishes the Nashor's Tooth almost instantaneously. This next dragon fight is near impossible for this red side team unless they get some magical miracle pick coming into it.
Well, the magical miracle pick might be on the other side, but for blue team, it's just another day in the park. They go ahead and start converging on this top side. Yes, Dragon will be up in about 1 minute 30, but the Baron will be up in a minute, so you do want to still prioritize a little bit of vision on that top side. You see Enthrall dropping a ward here and there, and now maybe even looking for Hoarder, as Hoarder realizes, yeah, I can't really be up here right now, at least unless I am with the rest of my team, and Ollie able to back them up means Hoarder gets out to safety.
So I will say Hoarder on this Gragas, he has been a player that I think typically when he is on engaged champions has had some of his best looks here in the Combine, but this Gragas so far has been kind of not great, as he has not really found any flanks. The body slams have not really been there as well, and we also talk about his explosive casts. I just don't think that they're really threatening some of the less mobile members. Someone like Kryra, if you're able to find him out earlier on into the fight, he just goes down incredibly fast as he doesn't have a ton of resistances. That's really where I think you want to try to find a little bit of leeway in this game, whether it's either picking out Enthralled with an explosive cast or finding Kryra. That is where I think they're going to find big money in this game, but as is right now with where this game is headed, you still have those double marksman compositions, and we also haven't really been able to kind of see this this Kalista kind of take off. Now with a 50 CS deficit individually and the rest of the map falling apart, it is harder and harder for a short-range marksman to really kind of get gold alongside someone like an Orianna.
And you are just praying that DumDum is going to be there to help you out with that issue specifically. Honestly, DumDum has also done a fair job. 2, 3, and 6 for their own has a little bit of that redemption in their pocket as well. But this Dragon being taken as blue team were able to section out the vision and take away a Cloud, which granted doesn't really require a lot of priority. Most teams do leave it to the wayside, but it is now the second Dragon for them as Baron is still being looked at here. Shogo, though, wandering in forward. Kryra, though, running them out of mid lane. But this is Aljun with a little bit of a flank. If you get the damage down, misses the first Q, but instead lands a lot of the rockets. In comes another pinch, but very nice ult from Levitate keeps that safe. The Renata Glass will live to see another day.
Oh my god, he almost tried to kill him
redemption.
with the redemption.
Yeah.
I like that. I like how cheeky you are, Kryra. We saw it. That's going to be the Baron started for this blue side team. And that might just be the linchpin that they kind of need to say, look, either you're going to come and fight us on this Baron and you're going to lose a team fight, or you're going to have to really outperform us, or we're going to take the Baron, we're going to utilize this to just destroy the rest of the map. And at that point, the Goldie's going to be too massive. It's already 7,000 golden advantage. All he's trying to get into the pit.
And Thrall, though, just running interference here, and that is going to be the smite. And you only traded, what, 50% for 50%? You're good. Blue team now have everything in their own abode. And just like you said, they are going to start looking to buy up, get ready for that final push. And a lot of eyes are on red team saying, what choice do you make? Option A, option B, option C, all of them kind of suck. But you gotta choose one of the three.
Gotta go for it, and not enough members. Again, DumDum wasn't there, just nearly died to that last play, so couldn't walk with their support to try to get into the pit, and now we're in the situation. We're seeing blue side redeploy back out on the map. It looks like they're going to try to play on mid and bottom lane for the time being, where we're seeing Quacker immediately push this top wave. They want to try to get this last tier 2 and then be able to bounce between these two waves, as the Dragon in 3 minutes will spawn a bit after their Baron buff has already gone down. They can take all the jungle camps if they really need to, but as is right now, you kind of look at this. Aljun, if at any moment he gets low, he can just go ahead and hit the back button and TP back into this play. So this is such a strong position for this blue side team, and there's not much. They need to find and engage. They either have to have their Sejuani or their Gragas look for something.
I mean, maybe they look here. However, this tower, you might as well just give it over. But this is Hoarder having a flash away. Hostile takeover takes over itself as the Thrall is now sectioned off. Down goes Leona, but also down goes Hoarder. And now the fight can continue. Out comes Daisy. A lot more poke, a lot more catch. As Ollie is going to be chunked out. One more auto might take them down, but the Praise Seekers might do more. Here he goes, the Killer Instinct. Shogo says, I got the kills. I got 11, looking for more. In comes the Redemption to keep you alive. Levitate trying to outduel. You do get the kill, but it's still a double kill and then some ace for blue team here.
There it is, and that might just be the end of the game. 15 seconds before Hoarder is alive. They've got 2 minion waves that they can play on, and they've got an Ivern as well with their Jax. They got 3 grubs. I think this might just spell the end of the game. Maybe if they're feeling a little cautious, they might not be able to do it, but I mean, look, you've got Aljun on this Corki. That should just be the end of our first game in the block with an amazing dive coming in from Shogo.
I mean, one last ditch effort. Hoarder trying to hoard a chance at a redemption, but it's not going to happen. It is done here. Well done by blue team to take the victory. Just like you said, it was well played. Overall, controlled pacing from blue team. Excellent mastery over the champions as well. Very, very impressive.
To see, I think a lot of the stuff that is really impressive about the players on blue side was not only the strategy that they came in with, saying, hey look, let's go for the lane swap, but they executed it pretty well from what we were able to gather after the spectator client going boom. And I did want to mention that Aljun, while having a combine that has not been incredibly consistent, I think the best parts of his gameplay have always been when he is on a marksman. Throughout this entire combine, Aljun on Smolder, Aljun on Corki, even his Lucian mid that we got to see, I think, in week 2 was one of the most impressive games that we've seen from a mid laner here. So to see that he's not only kind of playing yet again, but one of those special picks, the Corki this time around, I'm really glad that we got to see this, as he has been a player that I think, while playing in Tier 3 for a really long time, has always been more of a middle-of-the-pack player, and there's only one spot left for mid lane now, for when we're talking about the in-person tryouts. So Aljun needs to continue to have games like this if he wants to be in contention for showing up in LA.
I mean, not just that. I mean, Shogo also stepping up to that challenge, showing up big
Yeah.
on that Kai'Sa, enabled by the rest of the team, by the way, by Carrera, who I believe went unkillable, bought the Magi Soul Seal line. So I just want to add that in there, just a little piece of the puzzle. But at the end of the day, it is just game 1 of this combat. They got to show their stuff for 1 game. Maybe they can do it for 2 and 3. We here on this desk are going to take it to a short break, make sure we're ready for game number 2, and see what champions are brought anew or old. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Players are ready to go. Let's go ahead and hop right into it. As we can go ahead and see, I do believe the bans are still the same. It's the Ashe and Skarner this time. Of course, it is still Hoarder, Ollie, 5 Mini, Levitate, and Dum Dum saying, we don't want to play with that one. We just don't want to deal with the Skarner today.
Yeah, fair play, honestly. This champion has been really disgusting for anybody who plays jungle. If you want free elo, go ahead, just queue up some Skarner. Champion is really dumb. So, kind of already getting through it. Hoarder, this blue side team this time around going for the Corki themselves. Maybe that's going to be the adaptation for today, as again, Aljun on the marksman has looked really premier. So we'll see what they're going to be coming up with. But this does leave some of those champions we were talking about, and more specifically for me, in although they got rid of the Ashe, you still have to deal with Renata lanes, and Shogo and Thralled are two 80 carry players, so I would not be surprised to see them try to go for a similar lane that we got in the last game. My only kind of worry is, obviously it comes down to that execution, which we didn't see from this blue side team on that time around.
And the big part is now, actually, it looks like the shoe's on the other foot. We see the Kalista and the Orianna both drafted into Aljun as well as Shogo's hands, so it feels like they're taking the other piece of the puzzle. It's almost that handshake of, this is the best option at the current time. Granted, that would also mean we need to see the likes of that Ivern come out here for Ollie if Ollie wishes to take that one away, but matching it up, there's so many different options as well. For the Kalista, you can also go for a little bit more higher output in the CC department, but there's Nishwani sending Ollie back on kind of that tank duty.
Interesting. Ollie not being one to kind of opt towards the Ivern. Looking at his games, he hasn't really been able to play too many games. He has been really focused on Skarner, but obviously the Ivern has been something that has been very popular here in the Combine for no particular reason, I guess. Can't just be that he's a strong champion. What I'm expecting for the last part of this draft here for the red side is either looking for that top lane counter pick now that they've kind of already seen where this Jax is, or do they want to try to make sure that they have access to the Renata? They will not be a second phase of bans for this team, so interesting to see whether or not that'll be the case. Quacker, though, immediately taking his Udyr, which he has been playing all Combine long, and every time there's been any of these matchups, I mean, I just look at the top lane pool, we have Jax, Gnar, Rumble, Renekton, and Cassante available. These are literally all champions that just have a miserable game into Udyr, so I'm glad that we have Quacker to kind of make sure everybody's paying attention and paying respect to this guy, saying, okay, look, you have to just know that the Udyr is going to be coming sooner or later. So I love that he's able to kind of punish Hoarder. And again, now that you're on red side, now you immediately were able to grab the Udyr. You can just grab the Renata if you want, or you can just take your jungle matchup and see what you're going to get for the R5 on support.
And not just that, we're also looking at the fact that this is one of those outlier picks that you're allowed to go for. In some of these roles, it is just a little bit of a touch. There's a Renata Glass that you were mentioning. This is pretty much almost just a simple swap out of either the top or jungle on both ends, right? And there is a coming Rakan, this champion that outside of the Renata is the other kind of denial tool. It can bounce between engage and disengage. You go ahead, lock possibly lock that in versus against a Rao into a Leona or Braum. You don't want to play any of those against Renata Glass. So if this is locked in, pair it with maybe a little bit of a strong side, there it is.
Yeah, 80 carry though, because now you're gonna have to either play the Ziggs and Rakan, which is not a typical combo that's particularly strong. You could play Ezreal Rakan, which has a lot more focus on the top side of the map, which I think would have been fine. They're going for the Kalista or for the Kai'Sa this time, so we're getting a very similar matchup like you were just hinting towards for what we got in game one. Just a few different champions picked here, and depending on what Cryer goes, could go for the Ivern yet again, although this time I do think that his team might need someone that is a little bit more engaged. I think a Vi would definitely serve a little bit more in terms of value. You do also have the Xin Zhao that is available. I think that that could be something that they could look towards, but right now, this red side team is incredibly aggressive. We want to see them, again, take control of the bottom side, get those dragons stacking. We are expecting, what we saw from game one is going to be any kind of an outlier or kind of a prediction for what we should get for game two. We should be expecting to see a lane swap coming in from our blue side team. And from there, it does become a focus of these two different objectives, the Grubs and the Dragon. How do you prioritize them? And how are you able to actually utilize them? Because we got to see that the last time with this Kalista team, they got the first 3 Grubs, but unfortunately weren't strong enough to really fight on second Grubs, which ended up playing part of that downfall for them.
And I feel that even leans into one of the earlier states that we saw, which is Ollie getting invaded very early on. Into this game, it was literally on camp one. You're denied one of those early starts. Do you think we're going to see that again here with the Xin Zhao, with the Renata Glass? Do we see that early invade and trying to put Ollie on the back foot?
Maybe. We did see that, and you do have Callista and Renata. You should be able to try to aggress. I think your level 1 is a lot stronger for this red side team, but again, it is kind of going to come down to the execution, which is something that we talked about during game 1. And when we look at Jax, Jax is going to be a champion that has a lot of value this time around. He is going to be able to jump into the back line. There's not very particularly many mobile members, but he's going to also be put down early on just because of the matchup into the Udyr.
Oh man, those are some scary prospects as well. I like the fact that we do have the Jax coming back, though. I really enjoyed that one, but I am looking at the Kai'Sa. Maybe we get to see another explosive Kai'Sa game. That would be a lot of fun. Of course, Shogo is saying I'm not going to let that one happen. Right now, though, we are going to get ready for the draft. As you know, we like to try and make sure, or not the draft, the game. We want to make sure that this game is going to go off without a hitch. So we are going to go to a very short break, go into that game, and hopefully get things set up for your viewing pleasure. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And welcome everyone to the draft of game number 2. Nah, I'm joking. This is live game because right now Dum Dum is on the Rift with this Recon getting slapped into Shogo and Enthralled, taking a decent chunk of damage and starting up on this W as well. The leap is, you know, if you're going in is great, but starting off with like half HP, you're gonna have to recall. But Shogo walking into the bush, realizing that, hey, things are looking a little bit difficult, but Levitate also having to walk away. So damage traded on both bot laners.
Okay, I mean, hey, just getting them to recall. If they can cancel this, however, will mean that they're a little bit late. I wonder if Shogo just said, oh, yes, Enthralled. Yeah. Wait, no, he got the iframes! He got iframes! I hate when that happens. That is one of the most frustrating things, but when you're the one that receives the iframes, you're just the GOAT. You're like, of course I got away, of course!
Yeah, you just gotta look at it and go, man, this is awesome. I love this mechanic. And then others are like, we hate this. It's the same ones that I feel are like, we dislike the fact that there's a buffer on the rocket jump. I think, you know, whenever you talk about Tristana and all, God, I hate that buffer.
I love
by
it.
The way.
That's just called.
No, you are dead to me now.
Predicted you. This is what happens when you argue with AD carry players. Anyway, so we've got another lane swap, which is what we were expecting coming into this game. Again, when we talk about lane swaps, it's not only about the gold you can get on your AD carry and how your top laner can be really creative with getting golden experience, which we're kind of seeing already from Quacker. He's sitting in the alcove and making sure he's able to pick that up for himself, but it does come down to how good are your junglers at being able to find creative pathings, and as well as making sure that they're on time to protect the wave if they're going to get dove. So trying to see already, junglers are starting on opposite sides of the map. We could start to see Sejuani come here as potentially trying to protect or maybe go for a dive anyway onto this top laner, but they don't know where Cassante is. And Cassante can very easily, once he hits level 2, walks back into the wave, can press W. Hoarder's not showing, however. And same thing can be said on the bottom lane wave here, as Shogo and Enthralled are about to crash a pretty thick wave, and I'm assuming one of them has Demolish, which has been really popular for our bottom laners. So this could be very fun.
Not just that, Quacker actually hasn't moved. I would like to point that out. Has not moved at all.
There we go.
And is now walking in to deny ATP, I think? Oh, no, they got that. I was so excited.
As soon as he sees the DP, he goes, okay, cool, I can actually walk into the wave now.
True.
Which is great.
I was just like, please stop it. Please, Mike, please make Hoarder's life terrible. I would love that. But of course, you don't really have that, and it's not going to happen. 5 Mini, though, trying to trade out as Algin is actually dancing around this really well. And I don't think 5 Mini has countered this. One more auto attack might take it, but the minion wave is there, and it is going to result in first blood for Aljun with a sliver of HP to their life.
My god, Aljun's still alive. Wait, those minions are troopers, though. They were following him home. He's like, okay, I can just go home, and the melee minions are like, not today. Thankfully, he does get out, and it's going to be that first blood. Another really intense trade coming from our two mid laners there, as we're going to see 5 Mini just kind of sitting in a pretty chunky minion wave, tanking up all of that versus this Orianna, forcing out the summoner spell, though. There's no flash available on Aljun anymore, and also not having TP. This wave is going to eventually come back to 5 Mini, and he's going to have a pretty good situation. Levi's got to be careful, though, while he is in the vicinity.
A little bit of a touch and go. You do pop the ghost as well, so I think that's going to be a little bit of a safe way out. Bot side Shogo and Enthralled eating a little bit of damage in their own, but Hoarder is just like, all right, let's get this underway. Let's make sure to get this wave, and let's keep ourselves, you know, within the race, heading towards that mid to late. Counter-Strike, though, flashing preemptively to catch Shogo out. Barrier is going to do next to nothing, as now it's Enthralled's turn to try and run away. You do have Flash, going to try and stay under the tower, but it doesn't matter. Hoarder takes one for their own. Very nicely done by blue team.
Are they going to continue to go for this? There's not many camps. I was going to say, you know, hey, Kryra, finish your camps. That's one of the most important things you can do. Probably one of the most OP things you can do on jungle is if you ever look and you're like, man, I can't really gank any of my team, my lanes, hit the recall button. Your camps will come back up, and guess what? When you farm your camps, you actually get stronger. Some people at home don't get that, but, you know, eventually, sometimes you'll get that. For this game, we saw that play on bottom side. Unfortunately, Enthralled gave himself the bailout, which means that they can just immediately turn onto Shogo, invest the flash coming out from Hoarder. That was a really great job from them. When we're looking at this game, we wanted to see that this Kalista and Renata lane are getting ahead, that they're making sure that they're staying on pace, and we're seeing them fight for these early dragons. Now with this spawning, I do expect Kryra finishing his recall, heading towards the bottom side of the map, and looking to try to make this play.
Not only that, I really do want to see Hoarder step up even further, because 5 Mini is actually losing out a little bit. Aljun has done a fantastic job taking this mid lane and kind of reining it into their own. Enthralled even passing by, just kind of a ship in the night. But of course, that early first blood, or the early kill, I should say, on the 5 mini just is now putting 5 mini in a dangerous spot. Again, this level advantage, maybe a level 6 coming in, might be huge if given the opportunity. But there's Shockwave, as I was mentioning it. Aljun just snipes away a kill. Dum Dum was too late.
Doesn't even need the support to kind of walk through there. He's just hitting him with the autos. It's one of the things when you play against Orianna, her whole passive is just, I do more damage than you when I'm auto attacking you in a trade. The longer that this trade goes, I'm going to beat you. And while there is a lot of damage in Corki's kit early on, you still cannot be too aggressive in this instance. 5 mini is going to be able to teleport, and it looks like they're going to try to continue for this play as Aljun, because remember, they had to take the early recall, can't be here for this. It's going to turn into 2 grubs for this blue side team. So despite some of the, hiccups that we're getting from the mid lane, 5 mini is actually creating a small advantage for his team despite losing the 1v1.
And that's a lot of conversation with your team, making sure everyone knows what's going on. Shogo now trying to trade out with Levitate. Dum Dum coming in here, as that's going to be the killer's instinct in. Shogo's still only level 5 with no barrier as well. And you're going to try for the kill, but I don't think it's going to happen. That bailout is not going to be available in Thrall. It actually needs a bailout, but unfortunately, you are underwater as you have nothing to your kit. It'll be another for the team. Levitate gets their first on the board.
All right, guys. Maybe Kallista's just fake today. That's okay. Callista might just be fake. We have not seen them dominate the laning phase, and Callista obviously is a champion that is really, really strong early. She has a bit of a mid-game trough, and then later in the game she can eventually get to that point where she has those 3 or 4 items. This is that range that becomes a little bit of an issue, and so far with lane swaps being as prevalent as they are, you need to be on top of your game when you're playing this this duo. So I'm loving what we're getting, especially for Levitate, someone who, despite having, I think, some hiccups in his individual game when we talk about his games throughout the Combine, this time around, I think his Kai'Sa, we got to see it a couple days ago. He went like 13-0 on Kai'Sa, had a really great game then. We saw individual excellency as Porter might be able to get out, has his flash coming up in a few. I think they're going to try and look for this dive. Shogo's even on his way down.
Oh, Aljun though saying, hey, all the action's up here, and the summon Airy takes the kill. Aljun styling right now. Said Shogo was the star last time, but I want to be the star this time. And the Orianna laying down the damage, running out the jungler in a 1v2.
This is what we wanted to see, though. We said, look, Aljun, you've had some really great games, and you've had some games that have gone bust for you throughout this Combine. And this time around, he's really putting up on the last couple days of the Combine. This is not going to be one of his last days here, but this is one of those performances that if you have 3 solid games, including his individual comms, when we're talking about the listening in on these players, I think that the Heat's trying to make his case to show up in LA. And this is a guy who, again, has been kind of a middle-of-the-pack mid laner when we talk about Tier 3 as a whole. So continuing on with that dominance, I want to see more out of him. We need to see his positioning in team fights. He's in a very, very strong position in this game to be able to carry for his team.
I mean, that Orianna Shockwave has so far been 2 for 2 in surprising factors, so Ollie's like, all right, I gotta be more aware of that one. At the same time, Aljun has to realize Shogo and Enthralled are starting to lose a little bit of ground, down in kills, up a little bit in the CS by about a wave, but trying to watch that factor. You're gonna have to start playing for the rest of the team. Quacker in their own is still trying to maintain their CS lead, has done very well for themselves, about 13 CS up, so about 2 waves to their name.
Yeah. One thing I want to kind of take a note of is when we do talk about these top laners, the Jax matchup individually should be getting better and better as we pick up more items. Quacker is just going to have more, I think, generic team fight value. Obviously, when you are playing Cassante, you use that all out, you can remove a member from the fight, and Jax has a bit of a harder time being as relevant. So we need to really see now with the second set of grubs spawning, how much can they actually squeeze from this objective? Because the minute that we see 4 grubs, I think the state of the game does have to change. When you have Void Mites, you're just trying to play for side lanes, and then as soon as they're able to crash their turrets, get as much damage, then you can move them into the middle of the map, you can move them in towards objectives, because now you're forcing the enemy team to say, okay, look, either we're going to take a single objective that it's like a single dragon, we're not really putting ourselves at soul point, or we're at soul already, then guess what? Now you just have to match. You can never just leave a team with Void Mites up. So this objective is really important. You already see the red team is taking very good priority. They have the push in mid. Now they can move into the top side jungle and just get rid of all of this vision.
And not just that, I mean, that was off the side of Levitate, having to recall and get the items, wanted the static shiv for the upcoming battle. And so you can see, you just mentioned that ward coverage, fully littered. I believe blue side's wards are completely gone. It is dark, so they're focusing on the one thing that they can't see, which is mid lane. They now see Shogo and Enthrall, but where is Quacker? Quacker is now going to meet Hoarder on the bottom side and maybe run a little bit in interference, but the grubs have been started up, so let's keep that timer. Kryra making that call to say, let's go ahead and get started. All 5 versus 5. Blue side ready to go, and they do catch out Shogo once again. Not a summoner spell burned in sight, which I think is the right call, as that's going to be grub number 1. Grub number 2 goes down. A battle over the possible 4th, but no, they say we're just going to deny the grubs, the voidlings, from coming out.
Okay, so Shogo, maybe not intentionally, just saved his team from having to deal with 4 grubs. He's like, guys, if I just get caught out on this wave, then they won't be able to contest us.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Genius. I want to be 0-3 on Kalista. It's just a meme. It's a power spike. It's closer to Yasuo than you think. But I mean, it's kind of a Pyrrhic victory, right? Because when you look at this blue side team, my Kai'Sa has already finished the static shiv. The Corki, unfortunately, is a bit behind the curve compared to his lane opponent, but Ollie already finishing the Locket of the Iron Solari. That is a potential tool for them to be able to leverage being a little tankier than their opponents are maybe expecting. But because they kind of said, okay, look, let's just catch out Shogo, it's just a 3-for-3 on grubs. So Shogo is still going to have some of that individual prowess, just at this point. I mean, you're down an item on Kalista, you don't have your full boots, you're just going to be generically weaker than your opponent as is. So Dragon in a minute 30, that is where maybe we can start to see this red side team come more into their own when we're talking about their strengths. If they do lose this Drake and they're not able to get more out of maybe the top side camps, or maybe try to push for plates on another lane, then the game starts to get tricky in my opinion, and then we're starting into a position where this blue side team, the heavy scaling that we were already talking about from draft, might start to kick in as we get closer and closer to 2 and 3 items.
Just waiting for that moment to really kick the cannon and say, hey, we've loaded a cannonball. If you're not ready for the cannonball, well, you're in a little bit of trouble. We're seeing the rotation as well. You were just mentioning this dragon. Well, Algin has most of the kills, so you got to put him where the major objective is. Rotated down to the bottom side, getting a little bit of pressure. Already has that Luden's Companion plus an Amp-Tomb in boots, so decent amount of damage behind. Also has, by the way, the Dark Seal, which I just really want to point out. That was a, I believe it was Kryra that had the Magic Soul Seal last time. This time around is a Dark Seal. Hoarder, though, getting caught out here as this is Kryra trying to get a little bit extra, but Hoarder flashes over the wall. I don't know if that was caught. I believe that was. So knowing that the flash is down on Hoarder.
Yeah, this is now going to turn into plates for Quacker. You already see Ollie's on his way, and Thrall's going to make their position known. So giving up this Drake for the time being, they want to try to get as much gold as possible for their Cassante. They're actually teleporting in. Dum Dum is on the way. Ollie's here as well.
Good pull. Counter-Strike is up, though, and you're able to knock into Ollie, though. I don't think wants to follow up in a 3v2 position. Yes, there was Dum Dum and Levitate, but they're a little bit of a ways out. Instead, you're actually looking for a chance on the other side. Dum Dum trying to run interference, but Enthralled has the speed boost. That's going to be the quickness, though, and that's the denial. Again, the Renata Glass that we mentioned before, the great denial tool on pretty much all engages. Now you lost ultimate, meaning Shogo gets a little bit of a freebie. I know that's a little bit scary because Shogo's 0-3, but the speed's could have done a little bit of work to Dum Dum's HP bar.
Yeah, I was gonna say, look, like, I get that he's walking in, but they also just now saw Ollie coming through. I think if they really wanted to, you're looking for a snap engage, and you're gonna get Shogo's flash. He is thankfully not punished there on his side, but gotta be careful on top side. Now that they know that he doesn't have TP, Quacker could just try to trade on him. 5 mini flashes over the shockwave.
And I like this. The play is around. You know there's no chance out. 5 mini is just gone, and Aljun is on a rampage, and rightfully so, creating space to now draw in Kryra to get the assist.
And look what we were talking about on both side lanes here. Not only can Quacker reset, teleport back in, and then he's going to have a resource advantage, but also getting gold onto Aljun here. So very, very well played. They get the Rift Herald on the opposite side. I was going to say, with how much focus this blue side team has put towards the top side of the map, it has made it difficult for them to actually challenge for the dragon. It's going to be a second dragon over to red side, but they really want to get Quacker. Aljun can recall after this turn and look for a TP, but he won't have that shockwave.
Honestly, the HP bar is a little bit scary right now. Ollie isn't sure if they really want to fight this, and they're wasting time. Keep in mind, this is a dangerous moment. Good little shove out. Unstoppable goes the fight, and it looks like he got one. Horner's down. Quacker with the 1v3. Am I watching Worlds all over again? I think I kind of am. Shogo's here to run down Dum Dum, but the fight under the tower is still a little bit lenient. Dum Dum trying to get out of town, but you don't. Shut down handed to Shogo. What a play by Quacker to draw everyone's attention from blue team.
That right there is why Cassante is the ire of the League community. He just gets to outplay in a 1v3, and it was really, really well played from Quacker. He put hands on the enemy team, and I'm glad to see it because now they get to get the dragon. They also force the teleport out of 5 mini, and maybe they get this kill and the turret on top lane? Oh my.
I love the fact that it was probably reiterated to Kryra, like, hey, there's no flash and 5 mini is low. You can jump them. You can jump this Corki. The information gathering from Red Team is doing solid work now, and it's now actually flooding into Shogo's pocket. Remember, Shogo has been kept down for a majority share of the game, but the team is starting to lift them up, granting a freebie kill over, and this Kalista can start being a mainstay player come this mid-game, late game.
I'm going to be honest, I think Shogo, he's taking a backseat this game. It is now down to the laners here. Look at Aljun, he's level 12 right now on this Orianna. He's already finished the second item at 16.5 minutes. Flash here from Power, force out the ult.
Such a good hostile takeover though. Denied everything that blue team wanted to do there.
Yeah, we're just not seeing it start to connect here for this blue side team. They need to be able to calm their nerves and also still find clean engages. This could start to be the kind of comeback that the red team needed after this play. Blue side still having the Herald though, does mean that 3 minutes time, you can still summon that up and look to try to siege onto one of these standing structures. But as is right now, this matchup is getting very, very scary in my opinion.
I love the fact that Quacker's like, hey, round 2, I'm ready, let's do this, and Ollie and Horner are like, yeah, I probably shouldn't. Right now, that's a flash in. Quickness is able to catch out Shogo once again. Shogo does have barrier, though. Keep in mind, remember, there's no hard stun. Shogo's going to walk their way out under the tower. Yes, there comes a little bit of damage coming out of Levitate. Has to get the kill. I say a little bit. It's a lot right now. Blaskin is only going to bring Levitate into a proper and improper spot. Flashes into the wall, loses life, shut down. Going over to Cryo. Now Ollie is in a little bit of a dangerous spot. Keep in mind, they don't have flash from themselves to get another dash out, but Quacker might get the slows down. Aljun trying to get the shockwave onto 5 mini, but it's not going to land. And because of that, it's another tether. Ollie, you are not escaping this one at all. And it's 2 kills over the red team.
Halloween was 5 days ago, but that flash still is spooking me right now. And they now get not only all of those summoner spells, they get the flash out from Dum Dum, the flash out from Levitate, and they get the mid-tier 1. Such a big influx of gold. Shogo is just using his body, unfortunately, to just try to bait them in, and while the blue side team is saying, hey look, 250 gold or some sort, red side is turning this into 700 gold leads right now, as they're now 5,000 over their opponent, and you're now coming into this next Drake with all of those summoner spells gone, and Aljun in a very prime position still to be able to win this game. Kalista is still going to be somewhat of a similar champion to what we expect. I mean, they're just performing. I'm loving what we're getting from this mid-jungle duo. And obviously, Quacker individually kind of bringing it all together for this red side team.
And when they bring it all together, they pull off things like game 1, which ended in 23 minutes. Yes, it's I would say a little bit closer than it was. Game 1, it felt like it spiraled out of control. Granted, the deaths, the kills are still close. The 5K, though, just screams at me that red team are going to try and do the exact same thing they did and just try and push. Look to try and get these tower, break over the base as soon as possible. But off the back of Aljun, who is shoving in this bottom lane, and you can take a look here, it feels like desperation. Blue team going for Shogo once again, but what's happening on the bot lane? Shogo is dancing. Shogo's actually going to be able to dance this out, and in comes the hostile takeover. Shogo doesn't die! You put so much pressure in, and Levitate even tries to dive in! Shogo is fine! Shogo is alive! And they lose bot side tower. Blue team get nothing. They get nothing.
And they get the bottom tier 2. They're getting in position for this track. Okay, there it is. It was the one ward that was there. Levitate canceled an auto. He had to use his ultimate, and at the very end, they grab this. But it looks like they're going to try and get some objective brownies as well, finishing off this mid-tier 1 with their Herald. this is what I was going to say. You need to be focusing towards this dragon spawning here in a couple of seconds time, because this is going to make or break the red side's game. If they can grab this, then they can put them on a timer. 5 minutes time, you're going to have to deal with... Uh-oh.
Oh, what a good flash. Aljun out of the Glacial Prison means that you can try and do some more. Shockwave lands on 3. However, you have to go into the zone. Remember, this is dangerous. So Aljun does go down. Quacker, though, ready for the cleanup, but this is a 5v4 situation. Make that a 4v3 into a dangerous spot. 4v2. Death is blooming as Blue Team have finally found a team fight triple for Hoarder as they are hoarding all the gold. Quacker can do nothing but quack their way to a death. Or am I sneaking a little bit too soon? Quacker showing up once again, staying alive. Shogo's here. Shogo watches the triple knockback and is ready and primed, ready with the spears, chasing them down. Shogo says thank you very much, and Quacker with a stellar hold once again enables the ace for Red Team.
There we go. We said there was a couple of spots left in Los Angeles for the in-person tryouts here at the Combine, and Quacker is trying to put his name forward to face off against Zamudo. I mean, he just makes a bunch of plays to be able to save the game for his team. And despite some flubs, despite Shogo getting caught out very early or towards the back end of them maybe setting up for the Drake, it now puts them at sole point for this red team. Such an important victory coming in from the AD carry and top lane of this red squad.
I can't believe it, because Blue Team did everything, I want to say fairly well, but the gold lead that got out of control is just starting to slap them in the face. Now, small gleaning light. Hoarder was able to pick up 3 kills as Jack's starting to become online, 5-2-2 now, 2 items deep. Can take out some members, and we did see Aljun as well pay the price for watching Shogo and maybe a few others get caught out in a little bit of tough spots. So there are cracks, but Blue Team still a little bit behind right now. Baron in the eyes as we see Vision being dropped down, hopefully by both sides.
All right. Now, 4 minutes before that next Drake, you have to imagine the timing in 2 minutes. What I want to see from this blue side team, we're forcing out summoner spells. We're looking to try to push on the side lanes here. Jax is still very strong individually, but it is about those team fights that we're seeing it start to fall apart for them. Trying to make this play onto Enthralled.
Oh, they easily get it, but not before the hostile takeover goes over, and Shogo saves them from death. Double knock up in the back line, but Aljun is still caught out. Remember, that's a lot of damage, and there is no redemption here. The bailout does not bail anyone out, and Quacker is actually going to run away. Remember, Shogo, even though you were able to help out, is not that strong just yet. Had to pop the barrier, has no flash, and this is just a rundown. Shogo getting flashed onto by Ollie, and once again, it is Blue Team utilizing the muscles, but they're not killing him quite enough. That is going to be a backline counter-strike, hoping to cut them down, but Quacker is still alive and slicing them through. Go all out! Slice them up, Enthralled, trying to make it happen. Another knockback brings a double kill for Quacker. Quacker overtaking Aljun and wanting that MVP status for this game.
This is a baton race of all time for Red Team. You're seeing Aljun takes the first lap, he goes ahead and he gets a little bit of a sprint, and then we see Quacker, he passes it on over to him, and he's just making such good work, such good usage of the all-out. There's just not enough damage coming in from this blue side team. 5mini not completing his second item already, and we got to see some of the mishaps of this red side team. Aljun and Kryra not getting that Vi and Orianna combo quite right in that last fight. Shogo is going to continue to get tankier. He's going to finish Terminus soon. That's probably going to be done before the next dragon spawns, and now we're coming into this fight. What I wanted to see right before this dragon fight is getting summoner spells out from this red side team. And it seems like they did quite a decent job, at least from getting it from Enthralled. What I now need to see is, can we get it from one of the carries? Maybe we even get the flash out from someone like Kryra. That might be a kind of an avenue for them to be able to abuse that coming into this fight. And then you have to worry with, I mean, Orianna being as fed as she is, as Kalista being in this kind of the spot that she is. Baron becomes a little tricky here for either of these two teams. There's double marksman on the blue side comp, so whoever's able to win this dragon, if they win a very dominant team fight, we're expecting them to move immediately over to the purple worm.
I'd like to point out as well, you're talking about baton passes and then also just the profiles, the scariness that comes out. I want to point out Shogo, with the collection of kills, they're actually now the kill leader on the team as well. Yes, the star has been Aljun to Quacker, but silently picking up 6 kills total is now actually matching Levitate, which again, Shogo was 0-3 at one point. Being able to kind of build their way back puts a target on their back like none before, but this time they have the firepower to match it as well. As you said, though, so many things for blue team need to go correctly, and we need to see it go right very, very soon. Quacker with a little bit of a route looking at this mid lane, but I think it's more of just keeping Shogo and Enthralled safe.
Big item discrepancies, I think, happening in the mid lane right now is Aljun's finish the Zhonya's Hourglass and 5 mini only on Trinity Force and Muramana. We need to see this blue side team kind of rally around their AD carry. And for Hoarder, I think, again, to have a situation where he needs to step up, find a flank. He's been really, really good on the Jack so far, applying pressure onto Aljun and Shogo, but the rest of his damage dealers need to be there. 5 mini, unfortunately, has not had that opportunity in this game. We look at Levitate right now.
I'm not sure about this engage, and they're actually going to have to break it back out, but Shogo's saying, nah, you chose this fight, we're going to fight, cease and desist all you want, hostile takeover is going to draw 2 TPs in, and this is going to be slowed down. Dum is able to get away, rest of the team is going to save off, but they're trying to mitigate the losses right now. Ollie is down, meaning both objectives are now very, very much available for red team.
30 seconds before this Infernal Soul is here for the red team. Ollie will respawn with 6 seconds before it is up, and he's going to have to haul Sejuani all the way over to this side. It looks like what they're going to do, which is, I think, incorrect, push them off of the mid-wave and just take control of the map. Uh-oh, Kryra.
Oh, you're so happy about the Merc Treads. You are safe, even though you're ignited, but you have to back away now. And that overextension by red team actually forcing Kryra to actually recall, which means Ollie gets a breath of fresh air and says, okay, I can now join the rest of the team.
We need to see the individual laners here now take control of the pit and make sure that they're buying time for Kryra. There's no flash on Aljun, no flash on Kryra. These are going to be 2 important summoner spells coming into the next fight. And if they can make sure they get onto the back line, Aljun does not have Shockwave for another 15 seconds.
This is just going to be raw damage output versus raw damage output, but Dragon is quite low, 3k, and that's the Spears, that's the Ren, that's Infernal Soul, and all of a sudden this damage can come through. Red team saying, we are red with anger, we want to get those kills. Hoarder running for their life, but in the opposite direction, and it's going to be the diversionary tactic. Blue team are going to try and lock this down, maybe chase into mid, get a little bit more pressure, or are they pinging out Baron? Take a look, Hoarder trying to run through tower, is able to stay safe, and I think is actually going to get out. I don't think anyone else is hard chasing here. Shogo's going to try and cut them off if they can, but Enthralled able to slow them down, get a little extra damage, going to empower Shogo to once again collect another kill.
It seems like Hoarder was thinking, okay, maybe if I draw enough people, if they were to continue to follow me, if we saw Kryra, Shogo, and Enthralled all on Vision, maybe they could have started out with the Baron, but it's going to be that Ren to be able to substitute for their jungler's Smite not being available. And now with the Soul in their back pocket, they should be looking to take control of mid, move that into starting up this Baron. And I think finally we're going to be able to see this red team take another victory here despite some early game woes for them. I mean, again, Shogo in the first part of this game was really far behind. He was 0-3 on Kalista. We're kind of having fun at his expense. And now he is an important member, a contributing member to this victory.
I love it, and right now it's going to hold out, but that's a flash in, and it is missed, so Ollie will pay the price once again, a 5th death for the Sejuani, and because of that, this is going to be Kryra trying to chase forward, no flash to get really in range, might just chase that Dum. No, you need that wave before Shogo coming around the far end saying, hey, look, I can go ahead and push the top side, so it's a 2-lane push for red team.
There we go. They can just bounce between these 2 waves. There's not enough members to really kind of get onto the opposite side. They have obviously the numbers advantage with taking down the enemy jungler there. So now after they're done on top side, what they can do, move between mid. Once they take mid, the waves are going to crash at the same time. And then they can continue to play between these 2 waves and make it very difficult for this blue side team to be able to operate. They're moving in. Levitate's just dead.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was brutal. Actually, Liz with a shield and then some. I want to point out, Aljun went for a little bit of a Hail Mary, threw down the Shockwave, completely whiffed. It's okay. You still have to push power. You don't need that Shockwave to be able to break the base. As you can see, red team go ahead and just collapse down. They break down the door with brute force, and they say now we can rotate elsewhere if we wish. 4 inside of the base, 1 outside to push, and Hoarder is still pushing on the far end. Dum though saying, I want to go in. That is going to be the quickness. Again, another drop from Shogo saying, yo, your fate is not sealed. I am mine alone. Ingo's kind of staying in the back line. Hoarder though, with the 6 kills, says, please give us some more. Goes all out, drags Hoarder away, allowing the likes of Kryra to chase out on 5 mini though, saying I am 165, but still have a little bit of damage on the bucket. Shogo's like, I can heal it back up.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and hit my Blade of the Rune King here and make sure that I'm staying topped off. Again, we talked about playing on 2 waves here. They're going to go ahead and move in. Shogo gets caught here, but I don't think it's enough.
No, it's not. Right now, getting away. Rest of the team running interference. Granted, Levitate might be able to pick up Quacker, and it's another route down, but no, it's not tethered. Quacker is still alive. Are you kidding me? Goes back in even, right into range of the stun. Trying to knock back Levitate, but 5 minutes, and the shockwave is back up into a punch. The Fist of Justice bring 2 double kill for Kryra. Now dashes in for another bit, but maybe overstepped your bounds. A little bit of a chase leaves you dead, and Wanted and Shogo will pay the price as well. Double TP in though from the solo laners, and I think they're gonna look for the inhibitor. Please, just look for the inhibitor. No, they want more kills. They see low HP bars, and they're like, yes, let's go for it. But nah, there it is, 2 inhibitors down, and they're gonna try and keep pushing here, I think.
Yeah, this is a great job from Dum Dum. He's pulling the wave so that they can't crash at the same time. And like we were saying, they got their inhibitors. I just think after this, you're going for a little too much here. Quacker's going to be going down. You just invested both of your teleports here. We've got the Elder spawning in 2 minutes time. You have to be very careful with how you're spending resources now. This red side team up 10,000 gold at this moment, and the Infernal Soul. It's going to be very difficult for them to be able to lose from this spot, but Elder is an amazing equalizer when it comes to this game. So need to be careful. You're still now dealing with a 4-item Kaisa. Mini, unfortunately, has not been able to gather too many resources in all of this. Almost all of the gold has really been focused into Hoarder and Levitate right now, and I think that's reflected in their items. 3 now done here for Hoarder. Hoarder is continuing to have more and more impact in these fights as a very, very difficult to deal with Jax. But the rest of the team just isn't quite there yet, and that is where the crux of the game is going to come down to. Can Hoarder and Levitate overpower their opponents that are a little bit more evenly matched than their opponents?
Well, I mean, we say that and we hope so, but right now it's a test of Quacker. How many times can you get away with your life? You died once this entire time, but you're diving into a possibility of 4. Draw it on the side, though. Dum Dum has to run away. A little bit of a charge, slowing down Hoarder, allowing the spears to go in. Shogo trying to turn Hoarder into a pin cushion, actually. Nice little set of spears, but again, a nice disengage coming out of blue team. As I said, we're waiting just a little bit longer before we can really call the shot.
That top wave is going to be so important. There's 2 super minion waves now crashing in top wave, so it's going to be a little bit before Mini can join, but as long as he finishes off this wave, he should be looking a little bit closer towards that last Whisper item that he is building towards. And they're trying to catch this wave really high in mid. I love this idea coming in from Blue Squad, but they need to be able to escape, and they also have to still be able to punish or contest coming up for this Elder Dragon. You do have the Callista with their jungler. That can be very difficult to deal with here as they try to find Levitate here. Kryra being very investigative.
Yeah, and actually they're going to go all in. I love this call down, but again, going from side lane, Ollie saying, I got you, my ADC, please stay alive. But Ollie going down once again means these upcoming global objectives is going to be very, very dangerous to play for, and I think Red Team knows it as well.
Guys, just do the Elder. Please just do that.
I know, they're like, it's free! It's free!
Like, guys, maybe we can end! Maybe we can end! There's 2 waves! No, it's okay. We still got some super minions. They have obviously the bottom lane inhibitor that is still available to them if they really want to try to go for that play, but you already see they're starting up this Elder. And you have to think about how this game is going to end now with Elder Drake in their back pocket, 45 seconds before Baron. You kind of have pick up the litter. Either you can just walk through mid lane, escort this mid wave that is currently still up, or take your resets, look to try to push, and then we're playing on Baron. I think at this point, kind of they have spoils of riches for the red side team. You can kind of take whichever objective you want, continue to keep fighting, and then once their buff is over, they can just go straight into the Baron and continue to pile drive their opponent.
Well, listen, the pile driver only works if you're alive right now, and that's going to be Kryra going down here, but the assassinations might come out. Executes are available. Dum Dum is able to get over the wall, but you're still burning pretty low. Levitate trying to get a couple shields and heals, but it's not going to be enough. All out brings death. Aojun gets back on the board with a kill. Shutdowns galore. Double kill for Quacker, and Thrall make it one of their own, but Shogo's like, please, I haven't had enough time to play. Bringing about the ace as the Elder Dragon roars, and game 2 will be Red Team's.
What an insane performance from the solo laners here on the red side. Quacker and Aojun doing a fantastic job throughout all of this game. Having individual carry moments. It was the laning phase for Aojun, and then Quacker in that mid game, which is fantastic. And then we got to see Shogo eventually be able to play the game alongside the rest of his team. This is a really great game coming out from them, showing that they can play from a deficit. And I mean, look, we said, hey, look, like blue side, you do have the advantage. We did get baited by that Udyr. I think that obviously should have been the Cassante. It was really sad, but either way, I'm just really proud of what we got from the solo laners on this team.
And the step up that we really did want to see. These are players that are once again trying to cement themselves as the next 5 to go on, the next one in succession, because there's only one spot left for each side. I love seeing this bright light come out here. And honestly, big shout out though and respect over to Hoarder. Hoarder tried their hardest. 6, 5, and 5 was trying to find those backline accesses, and it was difficult. You're diving into such overwhelming pressure if you mess it up. So I mean, there's gleaming lights on both sides, but at the end of the day, the score lines say the most. And we got to give props. I mean, like, Shogo, that was a redemption story in one game alone.
That was, it just like, he's like, okay, guys, I'm 0-3. I will play the game at some point. If we're able to get to that the little bit when I'm able to get 4 items, that's what we were talking about, though, right? Like, the Kalista has that early game spike, then she has that mid game trough, and once she gets like 3 or 4 items, then she becomes a lot more playable. But before that, it's tough, and we got to see the comeback from this team, and I love what we got specifically, not only from the solo laners, but Kryra, I think, having to do a lot of heavy lifting, especially when some of the matchups that he was expecting did fall apart.
It was a difficult time, and now you have to look into game 3. How much can you improve again, as it's not just the wins that are looked at, but the losses and how you bounce back from said loss. We got one game left here in the Path2Pro Combine, and we'll see how that plays out in just a little bit. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Listen, the talks were good, apparently. They're already in the draft for game number 3, and so far, we have seen the likes of Quacker, Kryra, Aojun, as well as Shogo and Enthralled pretty much dominate the last few games, and it's showing to their skill, their testament of their abilities here today.
Exactly, and I think all of them kind of having individual moments as well, although maybe Enthralled not having the most amount of fun. I don't think he had a lot of fun dying a bunch on Leona, but right before a fight starts, that does come with a little bit of the timing, but I don't know how serious Enthralled has really taken this role swap. He's been someone that has been a little bit outspoken. He's just like, hey, I'm filling in for the tournament. I'm just making sure that my own support skills, and also he is, I think, taking this kind of time in between 2024 and 2025 to take it a little bit easier as he is getting back into school. So kind of using support as a bit of a downtime just to keep his skills up and not necessarily looking to play super competitively. Although that said, we're already here, and for this pod anyway, looks like we're keeping Skarner on the table for the ban phase. So I'm kind of glad. I was kind of sick of seeing him every single game here in the Combine, but nonetheless, I think that the ban staying sort of similar. I wish that we'd seen some more adaptations that we saw earlier on where we were going into second phase and saying, oh, maybe we can go for different bans, but looks like we're getting something a little bit different.
Yeah, bring out the Udyr. This is I think this was attempted last time as well, but this is going to be a cheeky one, I want to say, mainly because this is outside either role selection. Again, this is that one freebie that we talked about that we haven't seen too much of, but it is going to be in the hands of blue team.
Yeah, okay, there we go. I was wondering if it was the actual blind Udyr, because I know last game we had the Cassante come in, or we had the Udyr on the screen, and then we got into game, and it was Jax versus Cassante. And obviously, Quacker did very disgusting things on the Cassante champion, so fair play to him. We'll see what this is going to actually be as we get closer to the game, but Kalista, rightfully so, with Ashe banned, should be a high priority. If we're expecting these players to be playing at the top level, Kalista Renata is a very abusive lane pair coming out from the two. So Cassante immediately here for Hoarder. I wonder if this is actually going to be the Udyr again, or if it's going to be, you know, some other champion. Again, we'll see that as we get into the game. Maybe there's a correction on our side. If it is, I'm going to treat it as is, and I think self-counterpicking yourself in this manner is a bit sad. Obviously, you still have the option to go for unique champions if you're on the red side here, but looking to try to maybe squeeze a little bit more in another lane.
And maybe also just kind of testing out, seeing how well you do in being put into this position where you are forced into a blind pick scenario. There could be something behind the scenes that maybe we're watching, but either way, seeing this Udyr against the Cassante will be interesting. At this point, also the ADCs are obviously predetermined as well. The Kalista on the red side, the Kai'Sa on the blue side. My only question is the Renata Glass going to be joining in. Unfortunately, like a Kai'Sa Renata Glass, not exactly a winning combination all the time, but I mean, it's going to be paired up one way or another here. Waiting for that last pickup here, the B3 for blue team. They are going to go with the Rakan once again, having a little bit of a diversity in the give and go.
Okay, so wanting to make sure that they have some kind of engage again. I expect to, obviously when we have this part of the phase, just expect for Renata to come out if you really don't want to show. However, if maybe you're trying to get a little bit of a different spice, specifically in the jungle here, I do kind of want to see if maybe because you are on red side, you can't just immediately lock Nocturne and Orianna here because there are no bans in the second phase. This is one of the adaptations coming into this week of play for the Combine, but instead going for Kalista Nautilus. So again, still a bit of an aggressive look, but now gotta start thinking, are we going to see a Sylas in the mid lane? That is something that could start to kind of pop on through, and because you are on red side, you immediately get that second pick coming out of this second phase of draft. So can go for your mid laner here if you want to just try and blind a strong mid for Phi Mini.
I mean, and for Phi Mini, this would be I think a good time to get something comfortable. So far, Phi Mini has been on the losing end of this mid lane. I mean, Aojun has been able to shine previously, but no, they're actually giving Phi Mini a lot of room to breathe, saying we are going to give you counterpick. In this scenario, we're going to grab the Ivern for ourselves.
Perfectly fine. It does, in my mind, immediately scream that we are going to try to pick up another marksman. Now, the champions that are available in the pool right now, Smolder and Tristana, but we have seen both of these guys really gravitate slowly towards this Corki. So with the Udyr already picked here for Quacker, they don't really have a champion that's outside of that they can pick. So I'm expecting them to kind of fall back into this position. You do have the Udyr and the Kai'Sa already, so AP damage I think is solved. You may want to try to look towards some of the AD mid laners. Again, that Smolder and Tristana still available.
And I wonder about that Smolder. Maybe not, maybe you still want that forward damage. And honestly, I mean, Aljun had a pretty good time with the Corki last time. If you still want to round it up, but you just called it. Alk, you're like, hey, let's go ahead, get that late game damage into the Smolder, going ahead and being that insurance later on.
You already know with a Kai'Sa, with a Smolder potentially here, you are going to have late game scaling. And my worry was if you are going to be picking some of these AP champions in mid lane from the available pool right now, their ability to deal damage to a tank like a Nautilus or a Cassante that has an Ivern empowering them is a bit low. The chance they're actually able to find that is not particularly great. And now we get for the R5, preparing for one of the newest mid laners here in the Combine. Fimini taking the Orianna to just try to be as careful as possible. They have a lot of shields in this composition here, and it does mean that eventually they kind of can reach a breakpoint, a critical mass of, wow, the burst that you're trying to do isn't actually enough. We'll have enough shielding with the Ivern and the Orianna. My worry is, I think this red side team just has no damage. Like, if we get to a point where Udyr is strong, if this is the Udyr versus Cassante matchup, he builds 2 tank items after his Liandry's, and he kind of just doesn't die. And Kallistic never really wants to be in range. Nautilus and this Ivern do provide crowd control, but yeah, you're putting, I think, a lot of pressure on your mid and AD carry to overperform.
And for that same statement, I mean, it's not out of question. I mean, for Quacker, for Kryra, Aljun, Shogo, and Thrall, this blue side team has been doing fairly well in the micro mechanics. In the early game, we have seen them take some leads fairly early on. Games 1 and 2 have showcased that, albeit sometimes in top, sometimes in mid, sometimes in the bottom side. I do agree, though, this is going to be a challenge for them, and maybe they are playing that challenge role and seeing how they do. For the other side, though, for Red Team, this is their chance. They have a lot of shields, as you mentioned. They have that wombo combo once again, and maybe some execution behind it, so we'll see how they play off. Right now, though, we are going to go to a short break. We know there are some technical difficulties that can prop up, so we want to make sure that doesn't happen. Let's go to a short break, and we'll be right into game 3 of the night, the last for today. Please don't go anywhere. Yes, the final game is available, and once again, we are getting ready to get up out of our seats and hopefully end the night on a high note for all of the players here today. Once again, with these players trying to step up and show their stuff, we got one of the spicier early games here, both sides setting up for a little bit of invade, one defending, one going.
Yeah, and now we actually get to see the Udyr. We were kind of talking about it during the draft, saying, okay, is this actually going to be the first pick Udyr blind? And Quacker showcasing this champion. He put a really good performance on this champion so far throughout this combine in a couple of games already. Five Many getting found here. Don't know if it's going to turn into too much. Should be able to walk out.
I mean, they can get some more slows. 5 Mini's actually in a really rough spot. You don't have anything. You just walk your way to death. Oh boy.
I mean, the only summoner spell they use right there is Ignite. He's also probably going to be forced to teleport into this wave, and they're immediately opting for the swap yet again. That first blood going over to Aljun. Very, very good. It's going to be not as many stacks as obviously maybe he's expecting, but still that gold going over, very important. And I mean, to be honest, the fact that we had first pick Cassante, or we had first pick Udyr into immediately responding with Cassante, very worrisome for me. Udyr is still a champion that can be very difficult to deal with, even for a Kaisa, or even for a Kalista and Nautilus.
Which is why we're seeing DumDum actually try and get a little bit of an early lead here with the HP difference. You go ahead and lock up Quacker. Quacker with the shield early, though, ensuring that that Ren doesn't do as much as you would assume. 5 Mini, though, trying to get some retribution, some extra damage down on Aljun, who, of course, is sitting on that 400 extra gold and just, you know, doing what a Smolder will do.
We'll have to check in with Aljun every couple of minutes to see where he's at on those stacks, if he's able to kind of really manipulate the fact that Aljun is already having to use his teleport. I would be kind of hoping to see Kryra on this Xin Zhao look to punish 5 Mini for not having one of those summoner spells. As soon as you have the Rakan and the Xin Zhao, you always do have to be worried about potentially them going for a fight in mid. Ivern's going to creep through mid right now, you can see. Kryra, though.
I mean, this is just a straight up go through mid. No creeping around here. That's going to be Kryra just like, hey, hello, I'm here.
And this is going to be gold now. Solo experience for Shogo on this top wave. He's poking away at Hoarder. He's trying to get those plasma procs every so often. And crashing the wave, really important, as you can already see the two supports in this bottom lane. Trying to make a lot of headway very early on, as long as Shogo's been getting gold, as a recipient in these lane swaps, he's been very, very strong. Hoarder's just barely going over, and still has that flash. Actually opting for the flash compared to some of our other Cassandra players going for Ghost.
Oh, yeah, that was... And it's also the trade back, right? Shogo's just like, I want to dance this as hard as I can. Again, pushing the limits and the boundaries of a lane swap, I think, is a very good show. Shogo so far has had, number one, a great showing in game number 1. Game 2 was a little bit of a redemption arc. And now game 3 is just like, let's see if I can, you know, out-micro this top lane sense. Always trying to look for those extra Q procs. So very nice done with the Catherine Rain. Mid lane, we're seeing a little bit of a test as Enthralled once again visits that lane, forces the likes of 5 Mini back, and Quacker, well, Quacker's doing Quacker things.
Okay, and Enthralled just protecting the mid lane. That's what we wanted to see. Make sure that Aljun gets those stacks, that we're getting to a strong point with Smolder. Around 20 minutes, kind of finishing off on the execute. And as long as we're getting golden experience onto our two marksmen here for this blue side squad, I don't think we're too unhappy with the position we are in this game. Levitate just barely now going to be grabbing those first plates here for himself, but Order no longer having flash in top lane, but saving his TP. It's a pretty unique situation here. He's in a bit of a spot where I think he can very easily try to find a either trade of summoner spells onto Shogo, try to get either his barrier or his flash, but has to always be worried. This wave is pushing away from him, and he has Enthralled in his back pocket.
And taking a look at that one, this is the back pocket Enthralled saying, I'm here to try to do some damage. Of course, throwing down a little bit the Ignite. It's on a pretty short cooldown, and you force Hoarder once again under tower with only 20 CS to their name.
Okay, so he's just going to teleport back to this wave. Ollie is here as well. They are going to bring multiple members. It does look like Aljun right now, he's trying to position in a way where his mid wave is going to crash, and they're going to try to get vision onto the enemy Raptors. I don't know if they're necessarily going to spot Ollie here, just because he, you know, with his top side camps up, they have to imagine that Ivern's either on a reset or he's on his bottom side camps. Just going to try to cancel here as Levitate and DumDum are here. It looks like instead this red team is going to be playing for those grubs. And instead you see the pings coming out. Kryra and the gang really want to try to get those dragons stacking. When you have a Smolder, typically you never have access to this objective. The fact that you're going to be able to grab potentially the dragons and potentially put yourself on a soul point is very, very good, as this team is looking to potentially wait for 25 minutes to really come online.
And it makes me happy because it's also a Cloud. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like seeing Cloud souls. I like seeing the other Dragon souls. So seeing a Cloud first makes me like, hey, I'm good with this. Right now, topside Quacker is clearing it out. As you mentioned, the trade will occur. And we'll see this kind of basic start to the game once again, as Ollie's just like, all right, let's do the things. Let's clear this out. Let's cover, and maybe we get the Void Mites this time around. Enthralled, though, trying to make sure Hoarder doesn't interfere on the Dragon.
To be honest, I really have not liked the swaps here for when we're talking about these objectives. I think that the team that typically has someone who can actually be a split push menace should be looking to try to get grubs. But if you're going to be playing against a Smolder and a Kaisa, and we're talking about that eventuality of their composition, you should be contesting for the dragons. And now we're in a situation where, yes, they did get 3 grubs. If we can see them continue to push the pace of this game and actually get gold for this Kalista, she can be a threat later on. But I really feel strongly that making sure that you're taking dragons away from a team with Kaisa and a Smolder makes it so that you need to be putting focus onto this bottom side. Swap again to make sure that you're having priority for this objective. Order getting some good chip damage away from Shogo, but it looks like they're just trying to stop him from getting a little bit more of those turret plates taken down.
I mean, you're also looking at the HP going down on the top side.
Oh,
Quacker enjoying that one, but yeah, but Aljun throwing down the mom call as 5 Mini has just a shockwave and lands it. Flash is available for Aljun, but Aljun stands in front and gets the kill and is able to live as well. Quacker lives on to 1 HP. All the blue team basically on live support, but getting away with absolute robbery. Ollie now going in the wrong direction, and this is going to be a catch for Kryra. Kryra's like, yo, give me that tree. The axe cutter is real. Quacker still lands. Are you kidding me? And down goes Levitate. Thankfully, it was just a suicide there. But dang, Quacker playing with fire once again.
Just open it, guys. Just open up the pit, guys. Oh my god. And Hoarder, if Hoarder dies too, it's just a nightmare.
Okay.
All right. Thankfully, he lives. He makes the outplay happen on the all-out. Woo.
Yep, like that was Hoarder basically pulling a Quacker and actually looking for a little bit more, but in goes that barrier, and Shogo's like, maybe I can duel this out. If you get another proc, you can just work flashing away from the knockup, but we're drawing back into this mid lane. We're seeing death all abound. Shogo out of mana, though, as Hoarder flashes in, and I think this just might be death. Shogo might be able to catch this out, though, if you dance inside of the bush. And you just one more auto gets it. Shogo plays with the vision perfectly. Kryra now in a 1v3 scenario and gets tagged up at the crescent guard. He's away, but you're drawn back in by the anchor, and it will go down. Death blossoms from top to mid to bot to mid, and at the end of the day, it's a 4-for-2 for blue team.
It's a single Q. The Intofo strikes coming out from Hoarder barely misses out on Shogo's character model, and that is the difference between that going really heavily in favor of this red side and just barely kind of making ends meet for them, as that top play makes this game so difficult, not only with Udyr being able to live and still catch up on those waves. That was a flash from Levitate into the self-denial. He just ends up going down as well, and I mean, yeah, this game is going from bad to worse. That solo kill in mid lane from Aljun, who again has performed excellently on these marksman champions. I know obviously Aljun's play, this Smolder is not necessarily the most traditional in terms of marksman, but he is doing really well. It's always been these champions that, at least in this Combine, he's performed very adamantly on. And we're seeing the swap yet again. It looks like this blue side team wants to be able to stop the 3 grubs into turning into Void Mites.
It's happened before, so I have no doubt that they're going to have that strength. Right now, it's a little chase forward as that's a flash, but Dum Dum coming in from the side, but Mom is called down. 5 Mini takes a little bit of damage. However, the shockwave is available, and you're going to be able to land it on 2. In comes Ollie to help out, and it looks like blue team bit off a bit more than they could chew. Red team comes in for the 2-0.
Okay, and that buys some space for 5 Mini. It takes a little bit of that pressure off of his back. He's been getting pressed in mid lane thanks to Aljun and Kryra constantly visiting the lane. They're finally able to get some reprieve, means that he takes his recall, and he can be very strong coming into this objective. Again, we have a minute before the dragon. We have those grubs that are spawning as well. I think, again, you obviously would like to stop them, but you get 2 grubs on this blue side team, you are very happy with the position that you're in, and have to be very careful. Kryra already setting up the knockup here.
Oh, and this is just so easy. Of course, the Retribution comes in as this is going to be the catch. 3 tower shots means Kryra is crying. But of course, the main pain is Shogo getting knocked down. The Ignite burns through. And it's a double kill for Dum Dum, which, again, supports lives matter, but sometimes you don't want them to get all the kills. Ollie is going to try and collect this one for their own, and they will. So at least it's a nice piece back.
Yeah, doing a great job right there. That is 3 members going down just to prevent Kalista from picking up any golden experience on that wave. Aojun probably going to be forcing Out5 Mini to use the ultimate again. It is coming up in about 10-15 seconds time here. And that is going to be those grubs going over to this red side team. Going for 6 grubs here. They're going to get 4. It looks like the rest of the team, however, with Aojun moving on forward, if they can get 5, I think they're pretty lucky with this situation.
I don't think that's going to happen. Kryra with full HP bar and a little bit of items and bucket will be able to run them out, so it'll be a 4-2 stance. Quacker, though, still dueling under this tower, making sure Hoarder doesn't get this free. Oh, it was picked up. So a little bit of a snipe back. Red team was able to make it 5 grubs instead of the 4-2 that I originally thought.
Often are they actually going to be able to hit turrets? This is why I have a bit of an issue with these grubs. When is Kalista going to have time now? Because we've already seen the swap kind of coming back. You're going to have Udyr versus this Cassante. And Cassante already had the deficit individually thanks to having to play against Shogo. So now we have Quacker here who can just walk it out. Just thug it out, man. It doesn't matter if he has all out. You just walk away. You have movement speed. He uses the ghost as well. So you need to be able to actually hit the turrets. We have the plates falling in 2 minutes time. And you've invested so much for these grubs that I just don't think it's worth it.
It's, I mean, we'll still have to wait and see. Maybe a miracle can appear, but honestly, the reality is setting into that trend. So for the moment, blue team are like, yeah, we gave it up. We're not worried. Dragon is next on the table, and we can get that. Start that Dragon Cycle. You mentioned before, when the first Dragon went down, the Dragon Cycle can get scary if handed over to the likes of Smolder and the rest of blue team that really shouldn't have, or be given that for free. But you can already see the vision going down. Kryra already taking that blue buff away, just like, we want control of this bottom side vertical style of the map.
And Quacker has to be probably feeling a little safe right here. They could go for a dive on this next minion wave. Hoarder is going to be sapped of a lot of his resources, his health, and mana. They're actually just going to try and force this.
I don't think that's actually wanted. Quacker is going to go down. No shield available, and you will most likely pay without no extra shield.
What are we doing, guys?
Hoarder said, yo, did you not see Quacker do this for your team? I can't believe you're diving this. Now Shogo's in a rooted position as Ollie gets a gank off, but that is going to be the quickness into that that little bit of a charm. Enthralling the opponents to keep Shogo alive. Aojun saying, I want a couple more stacks, still waiting for that first level spike with some of that Q action, but unfortunately you just run them out of your own jungle.
I think that was a really well played fight from Ollie and Dum Dum. Yes, obviously we see Shogo still survive, but you're getting gold and experience onto this Kalista, and you're denying it from your opponent. So getting to utilize those 5 grubs, that's exactly what we wanted to see coming into this fight. And it's going to be 2 of those plates now going over to Levitate. So really great job of making sure that they're funneling the correct resources into their carries, and they didn't lose all that much. It's going to be Dum Dum's Ignite in trade for the, both the supports using their ultimates, as well as getting Shogo's barrier. Maybe that's going to be a factor in the next coming fights, as Shogo just barely is able to use his E to get right out of the range of that shockwave. Pretty big find, again, now with the Rift Herald being spawned up. We would want to see this red team go for this, as getting Void Mites plus the Herald is a very dangerous tool to have. And now without any shockwave, Shogo not recalling, however, is a little more worrisome to me.
Yeah, and you saw the tag as well, and Kryra was like, nah, I'm not doing that. I don't know what you guys are doing. So immediately looked the other way, said, let's get blue buff. Let's get the guaranteed gold and experience. Instead of challenging for what could have been a very messy situation. I'd also like to point out this is the first time that blue team is actually in a deficit. Remember, games 1 and 2, I feel like they had a pretty extensive lead from the early stages. So playing this one out smart, playing it somewhat conservatively, and not allowing themselves to get too much further behind with some of the more crazy plays that could come out when you feel like you're behind in a game.
Hoarder in a bit of a cool spot here where he has an item advantage over his opponent. Quacker opting to go for Boots Rush and going for the tier, but by not having the Leandries and the Faded Ashes and all these kinds of different AP items, he is slowly losing this battle into Hoarder. Now with Hoarder not having all out is potentially the chance for them to change that fate.
Very, very nice jump in, and Quacker, you may not have the burn, but you got a teammate to help you out.
Yeah, I was going to say, without the all-out, then that's when we can start to see Quacker take over. But aside from that, I was actually pretty happy with where that position was. Looks like Aljun's just going to use the ult to clear the wave preemptively. There's a lot of gold going over to 5mini, who we have said has been struggling in a lot of these games, and even in this series so far, but in these 3 games, he has been someone who I think has been taken advantage of through the mid lane, through either the level 3 all-ins that we're kind of seeing from the mid lane, and the last 2 games in particular. But now that he has a lot of gold back in his pocket, he's going to be a more relevant member this time around. And real quickly, Observer, if we can just get a check-in on Aljun and taking a look at those smolder stacks. We want to see where we're at. We're at 16 minutes. We're expecting about 160 stacks, maybe give or so 20 behind the mark. But, I mean, Herald was already used. They got a lot of gold into 5mini here, which, again, very important.
As soon as we get those up, we'll let you know what the numbers are, but Levitate for their own does not want to put another number on the board in the death count. Enthralled, though, just barely getting out of range of that hook. Very nicely done to stay safe. Ollie, though, coming in the side. Shogo realizing that maybe they don't want to be tethered up, but it's Quacker that TP'd in and has to ghost right back out. Thankfully, you are safe. But a little bit of a distraction in the blue team. A little bit of a wonky engage leads to the tower, most likely going down. There is no smolder, remember this. So this is going to be quite dangerous. Shockwave is available. If it catches 2 members, you're pretty much going down. And I think blue team recognized that. Red team take a tower, trade it out for the second up top as well. But this is going to be that punch. Great Guard to try and knock everyone back. But this is a Shockwave on 4-5-mini. Makes the Shockwave look easy. And now a toss in means Dum Dum brings the death. It's a double kill for Levitate in the mid lane.
Aljun getting all that gold in top side. Unfortunately, his team was felled in the mid lane. That's 2 turrets immediately. I don't think you should take this turret. You should not be looking for the inhibitor, but they found Aljun. Oh my god.
Oh, wow. The dragon's not strong. I mean, this is a baby dragon. Baby dragon needs a time wizard to do something, needs a bit more time in the game, and it doesn't look like red team's going to do it at all.
They're just tanking, just trying to stop. Oh, wait a minute, that's Levitate dying. Okay. I'm okay with that. Look, Dum Dum just needs to come over the wall. I mean, Hoarder can also just press his E as well. It's going to be a lot of summoners spent here, and Thrall just trying to cancel some recalls, really be annoying more than anything. And I like the beginning of that play. Quacker came in, he used his Unstoppable to get around Hoarder and using his All-Out. So I was like, okay, this is a great start to it. All you need to do is just wave clear. You just need to be able to make sure that you're hitting the turrets, and you have someone who's tanky enough who's going to be resilient. Unfortunately, we kind of saw that get taken away because Quacker had 4 people on top of him, so he can't be that resilient tank that they're expecting. And at the same time, Shogo was getting engaged upon or stopped from hitting the wave, so I mean, blue side falling apart, but again, they still have scaling elements. Kais is going to be hitting on second item soon. We have Aljun who's going to be finishing Muramana as well, and obviously has the smolder stacks, which again, I do want to make sure that we're checking in on for the team. This is going to be a very tricky point because 2 Drakes for this blue side team does mean that they have a little bit of leeway. They do have some breathing room in this game to say, okay, look, we got the first 2 Drakes, you got the grubs, but as long as we're staying on top of the dragons, in 2 minutes time, I think this is still reasonable. Those flashes being taken away from Aljun and Shogo, however, are very important.
Yeah, this is just, it's a difficult lance to kind of deal with right now. And Cryer for their own 1-4-2, by the way, one of the rare games it feels like that they've been a little bit on the lackluster side. But time will, of course, tell. We're waiting with about a minute and a half left on this dragon. And, of course, it is that call down of the Chemtech, so maybe not the most crazy dragon to play for. But Aljun realizes that, hey, I am the dragon that they're playing for. Hoarder is quite tanky right now, has the Ice One Gauntlet. But in the time of the top lane fight, we're seeing the bot lane tower go down. Another route lands onto the likes of Quacker, but you're going to be able to walk your way out to safety redemption just to keep everyone topped off on red team.
See what they can do. Again, you are racing against the clock. This is one part of this game that I'm not being a big fan out from blue side here, is the fact that, I mean, we're just seeing them try to race a team with 5 grubs. That is never going to be working in your fashion. Hoarder pushing him up against the wall, though, can find the all-out, and the rest of his team is just not here.
And that hurts as well. Shogo actually kill instinct on the other side, but now is brought to the rest of the team. Redemption set on the wayside, and remember, if you're waiting for time for this smolder to get online, you're still about 50 stacks off. We saw 178 on that counter just about 30 seconds ago.
That is, I mean, that's perfectly fine. He is down in terms of the stack count that we would want to expect from this guy, but he also has had a lot of time by himself. Uh-oh, Cryro has to use the ult. Quacker's in with the blast cone.
Oh, and can they make something happen? Aljun, though, about to stack up here, and Thrall saying, yo, let's bring it around town. That's going to be a nice double charm, and into the backline to get the knockup. Aljun, though, doesn't have the damage, remember, so this is red team being able to live, and they will push the rest of blue team out, maybe catch Quacker with a little bit of burst. Good damage, and the hook to follow up on Cryra. That will be another kill handed over, as Hoarder is now 8, 2, and 4.
So it's kills, but Aljun is stacking through all of this. He got a lot of great damage, the splash damage coming in from this, still collecting in mid lane. I think despite what happened in that fight, you did spend some summoners, but the Baron's not at threat, and now you are in key position over this dragon coming up. They will have to contest through mid, and they're actually forcing out the teleport. Hoarder coming in on a flank. Shogo and Aljun need to be able to outplay the situation and be very careful.
It's actually really, really dangerous, and they're pinched. These are two squishies, and I don't think they have any safety. Aljun calling him mom, though, as Shogos is running, trying to draw them away, and they actually pull it off. 5 Mini, though, is on a rampage. It's still a kill at the end of the day, but Aljun's like, I salute you and thank you for your service.
Still great, though, because they've stopped them from being able to force this. 5 Mini's probably going to have to teleport if they want to contest for this objective. And you see the pings, they're all over the place. They are saying, okay, we should go for Baron. Wait, we should try to contest for Dragon. And in that hesitation, they have bought time for Aljun to be able to teleport if he needs to. He can still collect these waves. And because they got those first 2 dragons, they are under no threat of this dragon actually being a potential condition for this red team to win. I love the position that blue side are in. Yes, they are down 7,000 gold. Kaisa has finished the second item, so has Aljun. I am just worried. I'm always going to be worried about a potential Kaisa outplay or even this Smolder from being able to reach that execution threshold.
It's that ticking time bomb that you're trying to defuse as you go along, and you're not really defusing it, you're just adding to the timer. That's what we're seeing red team do, and that indecision is, as you said earlier, quite scary. So let's see what they can do here. Trying to move into the top side quadrant, trying to look for a little bit of vision. You can see the pings go down, a little bit of eyes onto Hoarder saying, okay, let's follow up on this Veg Cassante. Let's ensure that our top laner has the ability to push in the wave, look for this kind of freestanding gold. I want to say this last outer tower before you start hitting the inhibitor towers. TP coming in as the blue team are saying we got to defend somehow, and it feels like this might be a little bit of a team fight defense here. In goes a little bit of execution, though. It is online if they so wish, and that is ordered to realize they're in trouble. Triple knock up on the back line, and Thrall said, yo, I got the damage, but where's everyone else? It looks like the meatball is just a little bit too strong. Hoarder straight to the back line, will not go down to Shep, but a final Q. No, it doesn't land. That's a double kill coming up. As they're levitating straight through this fight, flying even, as that's an ace for the red team with 1 death on the back end.
Great job from Dum Dum, finds the hook onto Aljun, and that might be where we break the camel's back on blue side, as now they're going to move over towards this Baron. I don't know if they quite have the HP for this, but again, they do have the Ivern in their back pocket if they need it, and despite all of that fight, I mean, right now, Cryra just doesn't have enough threat onto this backline, and the tanky members, we were saying, okay, maybe this team can kind of have some legs if those tanks are in position and they are at least resilient enough. And because of some of the lane swaps, we did not get to see blue side really take advantage of some of these lanes. So now we're getting into a spot where you are down 10,000 gold, you have the Smolder execute, but Baron for this red team, and Levitate, who is still going to be more and more unkillable. He's going to finish up Terminus soon. You have Dragon spawning in 2.5 minutes. I think right here, you're probably just going to have to spike and say, okay, can we win this fight around this next Drake? Or are we going to be waiting for potentially 5th Drake of the game? And at that point, I mean, Smolder's going to have 300 stacks, and you're going to be really kind of worried about potentially ending the game in a relevant amount of time.
I'm sitting here going, okay, that has to be running through red team's eyes, so that's why they're actually on the hunt, taking a look at where Aljun was, trying to push up on the top side, get a little extra farm instead. You're playing it a little bit safer. You have to back away all the way under your tower. Red team populating this top side of the map with no global objectives, but they have the Baron in their hands, and they really want to knock down this tower. This is what their original goal was before they rotated out and looked at other options, and this time I think it's going to fall very neatly.
Okay. They've got Baron, they've got those 5 grubs, big power spike here. For the next 2 minutes, we need to see how much of this map red side can take control of. They do have, again, with the fact that Smolder can eventually just keep poking out, keep getting more range. They are playing on 2 waves, but there's no wave in mid lane, so Hoarder's just catching this. And for the time being, I want to see how much they can actually get done. How many stacks can Aljun get during all of this?
I love the fact that Ollie literally brought the forest in there and just saying, play hide and go seek if we can. That raw damage to come out, though, surprise them a little bit. You know, maybe peeking out of the forest isn't the best idea where there's an execute on the other side. However, they are dancing between these 2 waves. This mid lane inhibitor tower is going to go down here thanks to a final shot from the and then empowered cannon minion. Now waiting for a little bit more as that's an engage on the top side, though, and Thrall trying to dance it out, but Quacker goes straight to the back line. The burn is going to be good. 5 Mini realizes that, but the burn on the other side brings a little bit of pain, as that is going to be Kryra wondering, like, what exactly happened to the HP bar, but look at Hoarder saying, I'm going to do Cassante things, and you can do nothing about it. Well forced off, as that is 2 dead on the side of blue team.
Yeah, Aljun just walking way too far up. Why is he going into melee range of a Cassante? You have to be able to play over the wall. You have so many stacks at this point, and that right there threatens the potential for them to actually win that fight. Kai'Sa is up. They still have Baron, but I just don't think they should be ending the game right here. Take your inhibitors, go towards this dragon as the last bit of your Baron buff falls off, and look to try to get more of these Drakes. It is going to be those Chemtechs, so you're getting a little bit more shield power, heal and shield, you're getting some tenacity as well, which isn't so bad, especially for some of these carries. Looks like instead they're going to try and force. Aljun has teleport, and they're going to be looking to force as soon as this Drake spawns.
I wonder if they're also trying to look to get some back end wards on Quacker as TP. I mean, Aljun does as well, but I don't think I want to see a Smolder flank for at any point in my life. That would actually be like dire straits coming out here. But Dragon has spawned. We're going to see how this plays out. Enthralled, not really being able or allowed to enter enemy territories. The wards are still fairly sparse, but populated on their side, meaning at least their own jungle is safe.
And for the time being, blue side just getting vision like we were saying, but recognizing that now is not really the time. We're kind of in between items. Aljun's finishing his 3rd, Shogo's going to be finishing his 3rd soon, so just trying to get whatever resources, scrap them up before the mini waves come back. And I like what they've done during this time, which is push the mini waves out as far as they possibly can during the reset. Because they were able to chase them, they're also able to find some of the members and stop them from taking recalls deeper on their side of the map. So it's going to be a little bit of time before the red side actually is able to get these waves in, as now instead of going through mid or through top lane, they know with these super minions it's going to be an eventuality instead of a possibility. So now they're just going to focus on this bottom side, make sure that they're looking. Aljun gets caught.
Oh, what was Aljun doing? You may have just had a great 2 games, but this one, you're on the chopping block. Of course, the burn might be coming out as red team are looking to try and close this out. Quacker is a pin cushion once again, but this time a rended one. Almost dead, allowed to live, but still out of the fight. A knockback on Shogo as the kill instinct back to safety. Get a pretty decent shield, but in goes Kryra, running interference with the Crescent Guard. Another knockback brings Rune to Enthralled, as this is red team looking to close out. They don't look at the next towers, though. They're going to try and punish the other side. They're taking the last inhibitor tower. They're taking the last inhibitor as Hoarder continues to run interference. Another knockback brings Kryra to their knees. And this is a juggle just outside of the fountain. They draw in the Kai'Sa, they demolish the Udyr, and game 3 will go the way of red team as they get the ace and the complete Nexus annihilation.
Order, Ollie, 5 Mini, and Levitate, as well as Dum Dum, are not going to be ending tonight without a win. I'm happy for the guys that were able to put one up on the board, and I mean, that was a pretty hectic game. We were seeing Aljun doing really well in mid lane, but the last 10 minutes, unfortunately, he was just getting caught repeatedly, and that is some of the value of this Nautilus. Part of the fact that, hey, if you are going to have some of these 80 carries, you can just go for that. I think also we didn't see too much out of someone like Quacker on this Udyr being able to really apply pressure onto Cassante, so got to see more of how broken this champion was, and I mean, that was just a great job, I think, coming out from the red side. I think they really held their nerve and played around the fact that they got those 5 grubs. After they got the 5 grubs, they focused so hard on getting Levitate, that top tier 1. They moved into bottom lane. They moved into mid. I loved how they played the map afterwards.
And it was very concise. It didn't feel as frantic pacing as we saw in games 1 and 2. If we look back there, it was a very fast-paced action. I mean, game 1 ended at 23 minutes, but you saw the conciseness, the, okay, let's take everything. Let's do this step by step. Let's not mess this up. And I love that call down. That shows that, you know, maybe the coaching in the back end really did speak to them. They didn't let things go to their head, which I really do appreciate. Alk Battery, I think these players do each deserve their own little spotlights here and there. But I do want to ask, has there been a player tonight that really stood out to you? Because again, all these players are still vying for a spot of the last 5 remaining slots to go to LA.
Yeah, I think, barring some of the gameplay in Game 3, I really do think Quacker put up a very valiant performance. His individual play in those first 2 games was excellent, and even though this time around they weren't able to find too much of a victory, I just feel like the game kind of revolved around this mid 2v2 with Kryra and Aojun being in strong positions, and both of them, I think, kind of fumbled it towards the end of the game. So I really do think that Quacker put up a really great performance. If we're talking about this red side team, I think Hoarder obviously had some some great performances, but this team just didn't really kind of put it together. And again, I think that is kind of to be expected when we talk about the veterancy that is on this blue side team of players who have been playing in tier 2 and tier 3 for a really long time. And you look at red side, you have 2 new players in mid and jungle, Ollie and 5mini, who are still finding their voices. And I think listening to someone like Ollie, he has been a little bit more vocal as the weeks have gone on. So really excited to see that. And Levitate just hasn't had, I think, a great Combine just in general. Him and his teammate Samikin actually both having some really great games, but I think overall didn't hit the goals that they had set at the beginning of the Combine themselves.
And this is also why a Combine is here, to both show your strength and to shore up your weaknesses, and to recognize that here hopefully is something that they will be able to draw away. But there are still more days of the Combine to come. I know we got tomorrow as well as Thursday that'll show a few fresh faces in the players as well as here on the broadcast. But here tonight we have seen 10 players give it their all across 3 games, and I think they gave us a wonderful show. Thank you all for tuning in here tonight. My name is Ordle. With me has been Alk Battery, and then of course our producer in the booth, that of course was Ice Fire Ride Cast, and we thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. ET. Go ahead and check us out there with, as I said, a few fresh faces. I believe Gordo and Quacks will be on the broadcast desk. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.